Hello there, and welcome to the second Big Daddy D sleep video. It's been a year since I did the first video, and a lot of you seem to have enjoyed it, so I've decided to make another one. So with that in mind, I've put together a 2.5 hour video compilation of some of my previous video reviews. Whilst the previous sleep video had a rather eclectic mix of lots of different random reviews, this is going to be purely based on beer reviews, episodes of Beer Club. And it won't just be reviews of beers on things like Perfect Draft and Blade. We'll also be making visits to beer shops. We'll be going to a beer festival where we'll have a few tips there on how to survive a craft beer festival, and we'll even have a go at making beer ourselves thanks to the Pinter. As with the previous sleep video, I've made a few edits to level out the audio, turn down the volume and remove any sudden loud noises or various other chaotic moments that were in the original videos. So it's time to relax. All you need to worry about now is sitting back or even laying back, relaxing, closing your eyes if you feel comfortable doing that, and enjoying the voice of a slightly unhinged northern bloke talking about beer. So without further ado, let's begin. Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Club. I hope you enjoyed the previous episode in which we visited the Camden Town Brewery Beer Hall. In fact, Camden Town Brewery loved my video so much they actually got in touch with me on Twitter and offered to send me their July Beer Hall box to get my thoughts on it. Well, I'm certainly not one to turn down free beer, especially when the weather has been so warm recently. So here it is in the box. There are 4 different beers in the box and we're going to get 2 of each one. There is the unfiltered pale, the lager top, dip hop and a special. These are the latest beers fresh from the brewery. These one-off beer hall batches are trials and tests for new recipes for their future beers, all brewed under the arches in Camden. As a result, these haven't even got a finished can design yet. Let's go through each one and see what they're like. First of all, Unfiltered Pale is an American-style pale ale coming in at 4% ABV. It's slightly floral on the aroma, and what with it being unfiltered, it does seem to have more body to the beer than the usual filtered version of the Camden Pale Ale, which is more common. It also seems to be sweeter than the original as well, as I'm getting some hints of toffee in there. A smooth and dry pale ale that's very refreshing. Lager Top is an American-style lager coming in at 4.8% ABV. This is essentially Camden's version of a lager and lime. Think of Tiny Rebel's Key Lime Lager that we've reviewed here before, or a Radler style beer. My wife actually tried this in the beer hall when we visited, but we didn't actually record that. Maybe we should have done. Anyway, this is crisp, delicious, refreshing and lemony. It's ideal for those that like a little lime in their lager. You know, don't be afraid to go up and order a shandy if it's going to be anything like this. Dip Hop is another American style lager, this time coming in at 5.5% ABV. So yes, you've probably noticed we're actually going up in volume as we work our way through the box. This is a good hoppy beer, clean and clear in the glass, with a little hint of soft grapefruit on the taste, and it is very smooth to drink. Finally, we have the Special, which is a 6.5% ABV Pilsner style lager. Despite its higher ABV, it's actually very light-bodied and drinkable, so the alcohol content has been well hidden. It's a very summery, refreshing lager that does go down very well on a hot day like this. So I just want to say a big thank you to Camden Brewery for sending me these beers. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much for doing that. Again, especially in this hot weather. And if you ever do find yourself in Camden Town, then go and visit their beer hall. We'll certainly be going there again at some point for the full brewery tour. We are going to be taste testing 3 new kegs that have recently been made available on the Philips Perfect Draft beer machine. For this video we'll have Innis and Gunn's Lager Beer, Brewdog's Elvis Juice and Palm's Especial Amber Ale. Welcome to Beer Club. This is an award-winning Scottish 4.6% lager. We have the keg loaded up in the machine already, so let's give it a pour. So beer in the glass, and this is a really nice, crisp golden colour. There's good levels of carbonation, but it doesn't look overly fizzy, which is something you want to bear in mind when you're having a lager, especially if you're having it with food. You don't want it to rest too heavily. We're also getting a good compact head of white foam, about 2 fingers worth. It's a good looking pint, really looks pleasant, really looks appealing to the eye. But let's have a sniff of it and see what it's all about. Firstly, on the aroma, there is the smell of hops. From reading up on this beer, it has been brewed with 2 types of Styrian hops, which has given it this pleasant, grassy, citrusy aroma. You can then pick up on those base notes of malt, the oats, the naked oats that's been used to brew this, just from the aroma. It does smell absolutely amazing. Now, let's have a taste of this. Initially, you're getting that sweetness, then there's a kick from those citrus hops. It's really refreshing. There's a really nice, smooth undertone to it. It's not overly carbonated, it's really flavourful and drinkable, and you're also getting that hoppiness on top of what is a really nice lager. You're getting a very pleasant, exceptionally smooth mouthfeel on top of a proper, refreshing beer. I do wish that I had a proper Innis and Gunn glass for this. The glass looks absolutely amazing, and I've seen pictures of it with the beer in that glass, and it's like that's a beautiful sight, is that. But as you can probably imagine, looking at my shelves at the moment, I'm starting to run out of room, and it's getting to the point where my wife's having to say to me, yeah, no more beer glasses please, we don't have the room for it. Might have to build another shelf, we'll see. But yeah, very nice glass, and maybe I'll be on the lookout for that. But yes, this is a really good beer, very drinkable, very refreshing, and I reckon I'll definitely be ordering some more of this in again in the future. Right, I'm just going to have another swig now, just to be sure, because next up we're going to go from one famous Scottish brewery to another with Brewdog's Elvis Juice, their grapefruit infused IPA, and I'm expecting the Perfect Draft version of Elvis Juice to be superior to the one in the can. I'm also glad to see Elvis Juice coming back to its original volume of 6.5% ABV. I'm not too sure exactly why it ended up dropping down to 5.1. Don't know if we ever got an explanation for that. And it's something that even James Watt himself of Brewdog has recently been speaking about. But yeah, we're back to 6.5 as it should be. So let's give it a go. This is the second beer that Brewdog have brought out for the Perfect Draft after the success of their Punk IPA, and hopefully the hits will continue to come from them as far as this and Perfect Draft is concerned. So, beer in the glass, it's a lovely clear amber colour with plenty of rolling carbonation and 2 fingers of slightly off-white foam. On the aroma, we're getting a wonderful smell of grapefruit, really inviting. Nothing too overpowering like another beer I could mention. There's that sweet maltiness, some hints of citrus and pine, very pleasant and very welcoming indeed. On the taste, we're getting a really nice soft maltiness, some sweet, refreshing, juicy grapefruit bursting through, which then leads onto a lovely mouthfeel. It's very smooth, nice and soft in the mouth, and it's a great body of beer. Fruity, hoppy, sweet and very drinkable. And despite its 6.5% ABV, the alcohol is actually very well hidden. Elvis Juice is one of our favourite Brewdog beers here at the Mabbers Tavern. I usually find that if I buy a multi-pack of Brewdog beers, it is the Elvis Juice that is the first one to go. And now that it's on perfect draft, well, put it this way, I can see quite a few pints of that being drunk over the weekend. It's a winner on perfect draft, and he is hoping that Brewdog will bring another one of their beers to this machine. I'd like to say that Elvis Juice has filled in the gap that was left behind by Magic Rock's high wire grapefruit, which they've now stopped doing on perfect draft, but I'm sure there's some people out there who would still prefer to have that, myself included. High wire grapefruit was one of the first kegs I ever got on perfect draft, so the fact that it's not available anymore, you know, I'm really gonna miss that, to be honest with you. I am sad to see it go. And to make it worse, their Dark Arts Surreal Stout is now sadly no longer available for the perfect draft either. Now, I was a huge fan of that. As soon as that became available, I got a keg of that in for Christmas. I reviewed it. I had high praise to say for it, and that's gone as well. I mean, just to let you know how much of a fan of Surreal Stout I am, there's a poster there in the background of Magic Rock Dark Arts. Yeah, there you go, just there. So yeah, they've stopped doing that as well. It's a real shame. We're back to having a position now where there's no stouts available for the perfect draft machine, which is a bit daft considering that the latest version of this machine, the Perfect Draft Pro, has got an adjustable temperature, which would be ideal for stouts. So I'd like to see it where, okay, we're in a position now where we don't have a stout for the perfect draft machine. Are we now going to have it where one of these new breweries that have come on board, will they sort of fill in the gap and bring us a stout? I mean, Brewdog's got a number of stouts that they could bring to perfect draft. They would work quite well, I think. Although what I would really like to see, if I was going to tell you exactly what was on my wish list, it would be Vocation Brewery bringing their naughty and nice chocolate stout to the perfect draft. Now that would be amazing. I absolutely love that on cans, so that on perfect draft would be amazing, but we'll have to see what happens. Anyway, finally for this video, we are looking at Brouwau Palm's Belgian amber beer, the Palm Special, coming in at 5.2%. So living up to its name, it's a fantastic amber colour in the glass with a good amount of carbonation. It's quite clear, not very hazy, and there's a good compact, slightly off-white head of foam. There's a really nice, sweet, malty aroma to it, which is quite different to what I usually expect from Belgian beers. Rather than having that yeastiness to it, that sort of smell of cloves and banana, what we're getting instead is something that's quite fruity with hints of toffee and caramel. A very pleasant smell, but it's more rather like an English ale than a Belgian one. Quite surprising. The taste starts off with a soft, sweet maltiness. Feels like there's a hint of citrusy fruits and honey in there as well. The sweetness then gets balanced out with a really nice hoppy ending. And what this all results in is a fantastically smooth Belgian beer that is very drinkable, not too heavy, and that it leaves you with a very pleasant mouthfeel. It's crisp, it's clean, it's smooth, it's light, sweet and malty. Very happy with this one. This isn't a brew that I'm too familiar with. Not heard of them before, but I saw that it was a recently added keg, so I thought I'd add it to the basket and give it a go for review purposes. Very glad that I did, and I'll definitely be looking out for more beers available from this brewery based purely off this. And that's the end of this video. Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Club. I'm going to keep this episode short because I don't know if you can tell I've got a bit of a cold, but I wanted to address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room being that the cost of purchasing a perfect draft keg has gone up by a fair old amount this year. Unfortunately, it's the current economic climate we're living in, and it's certainly not just perfect draft that this is happening to either. Even the price of a blade keg has increased this year as well. But even with that in mind, the actions of this particular gentleman seem a little excessive. In September this year, staff members at a local Nisa store in Glasgow couldn't quite believe their eyes when they spotted on their shop CCTV, an opportunistic man trying to steal alcohol from the premises. Nothing unusual about that, you may say, but the man in question was trying to stuff a 6-litre perfect draft keg of Tennant's lager down his trousers. Police were naturally called in to investigate the incident, and as at the time of recording this, they have actually found a suspect and made an arrest. But despite the unsavoury incident, the family-run store have vowed to help those genuinely in need. For example, if there's a customer out there that needed milk or bread or baby formula or nappies, that sort of thing, they would help out. But of course, if you're trying to jam a 6-litre keg of Tennant's down the front of your jogging bottoms, well, that's not really a crime of need or desperation now, is it? After the family-run store decided to share the pictures on social media, the man with the Tennant's down his trousers began trending for a while. Beerhawk saw the funny side of this, and seeing as they had a number of kegs in their warehouse of short-dated Punk IPA, they decided that they would provide a discount code to anyone that put a photo of themselves on their social media with a perfect draft keg down their trousers, with the hashtag #PantsForPints. What would happen is that the next time they would place an order, they would get a free keg of Punk IPA thrown in with their next purchase. Well, you know me, I'm certainly not going to turn down a challenge like that. So here I am with a keg of Palm plonked into my pants, because I'm going to put something decent down there, I'll have you know. And it was worth it, because Beerhawk were quickly in touch with a code for me to use in my next order, which you can see here. As you can see, I've also ordered some Oktoberfest themed beers, which is fantastic because I've been trying to get hold of these for a number of years now, the Spaten and the Lowenbrau Oktoberfest special editions, so I'm going to be reviewing those in a future video. But first, let's get this Punk reviewed, seeing as we've got a short date on it. Now, this is actually the third time that I've reviewed Punk IPA here on the channel. Previously, I'd covered this as part of a comparison video against Aldi's cheeky copycat version of Punk IPA, known as the anti-establishment IPA. Aha, I see what you did there. In fact, I did this twice, because the recipe and the packaging for the anti-establishment was changed about a year later. But this is going to be the first time I'm reviewing it on Perfect Draft, reviewing the Punk. So, what's it like? So I'm getting an absolute perfect pour of this into a proper Brewdog pint glass. Has to be done, got to use a proper glass. So there in the glass, it's a golden amber colour with quite a hazy appearance. We've got about a finger's worth of white head. We're getting slow moving levels of carbonation. There's nothing crazy going off in the glass, but you can certainly see the bubbles moving around. On the aroma, we're getting a pleasing smell. There's a bit of grapefruit going on, a touch of lemon and orange peel. On the taste, we're getting those recognisable levels of sweetness to begin with. It's refreshing and fruity. We're getting that grapefruit in there. We're getting that passion fruit. We're getting citrus. It's quite malty. It's very flavoursome, floral and hoppy. It's Brewdog. it's Brewdog Punk IPA as I know and love it. But this is as good as what it'd be if I'd gone into a bar or gone into like one of Brewdog's own bars and ordered it on draft. That's how good it is on the Perfect Draft. Now, I understand that Brewdog have changed the recipe for their Punk IPA in recent years, but the only difference that I'm noticing is that it doesn't seem to have quite the same amount of bitterness on the back end like it used to have. Punk IPA used to be one of the most bitterest West Coast IPAs out there, but most of that seems to have gone now. So that really depends on how you feel about having a bit of bitterness on the back end. Some people might prefer it, some people would rather not have it. Personally, I don't understand why people seem to be jumping on the Brewdog negative bandwagon. It seems to be the fashionable thing to hate on Brewdog these days. It's almost like, how dare you become so successful? It's ridiculous, really. I mean, Vocation's Life and Death is probably going to be my go-to now if I want a West Coast style IPA on Perfect Draft, but I certainly wouldn't say no to a pint of Punk if it was offered to me. Absolutely not. Did I enjoy it? Yes, absolutely. Would I get it again? Yes, I certainly would. And not to mention that and the Elvis juice as well. But I can't be reviewing the same kegs over and over again. I like to go for something a little bit different for reviewing purposes. So coming up in a future Beer Club episode, I've got some more perfect draft kegs to review, including the aforementioned Oktoberfest versions of Spaten and Lowenbrau that I finally managed to get hold of. And there's also the small matter that we actually went to an Oktoberfest weekend as well. So yes, that will also be part of that Oktoberfest themed video. I've also got ready for review at some point the Camden Hell's Lager and Adnam's Ghost Ship, two other fairly recent additions to the selection available on Perfect Draft, and at some point I'd like to get hold of Jeremy Clarkson's Hawkstone Lager as well. He's been featured quite heavily recently in some of the advertisements, you know, with a few choice words to say about George Clooney and the coffee machine that he's advertised previously. Guten Tag everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beer Club. This time I'll be showing you some footage and reviewing some beers from when we went to the Oktoberfest weekend in Butlins at Skegness last month. And yes, we certainly got dressed up for the occasion. So do be sure to stick around for today's episode, as there's going to be plenty of beer, bratwurst and a load of lederhosen this week on Beer Club. As if the copious amounts of beer at the festival wasn't enough, we also brought along my perfect draft machine along as well. And it's from here that I'm going to review our first German beer of the weekend, the Lowenbrau Oktoberfest. Now, what with these being seasonal beers, the Lowenbrau Oktoberfest, along with the Spaten Oktoberfest, aren't always available all the time. And usually when they do appear for sale, they are very quickly sold out again. As a result of this, I've not been able to get hold of either of these for a number of years, but this year I was very fortunate enough to be able to get hold of both of them. So, a pint of Lowenbrau in the glass. What we're getting is a pleasing looking, golden coloured beer. There are some steady levels of carbonation rising up the glass. We're getting 2 fingers of white creamy head. There's a nice malty aroma with a bit of lemon in there. And you can already tell from the smell that this is going to be an excellent quality lager. On the taste, we're getting lovely big malty flavours with a hint of lemon. It's quite sweet on the front. There's a lovely bit of tingling on the tongue, leading to a cracking mouthfeel. It's bready, hoppy, very crisp and refreshing, very moreish. It's very drinkable, which is a bit dangerous considering that this is 6.1% ABV. So you'll probably find that about 5 or 6 pints of this will go down very easily indeed. So you might want to prepare yourself for a bit of a sore head the following morning. It's definitely got more of a kick to it than the original version of Lowenbrau, which we have reviewed here on the show before. So I would say that if you've tried the original version previously and really enjoyed that, then you definitely need to try out the Oktoberfest version. This is shooting straight up to being one of my top 10 favourite beers on the Perfect Draft. I really should do a top 10 video at some point, but yes, if there was a top 10, this would definitely be on it. If you've got a Perfect Draft machine, then this beer needs to go in it at some point, because essentially this is the type of beer that you buy the machine for in the first place. Wunderbar. Wunderbar. From there, it's on to the Oktoberfest festival itself. And throughout the night, we were drinking ABK Hells, which, in good old German tradition, was served to us in 2-pint stein glasses. Now, we've tried a number of ABK beers before here on the channel and thoroughly enjoyed them. ABK have been brewing beer for over 700 years, so they definitely know what they're doing at this point. The Hell's Lager is a light, golden coloured beer with good levels of carbonation. We're getting about a finger of foamy head. We're getting a sweet aroma. It's slightly malty and biscuity. It's floral and hoppy. It's a full-bodied beer with a light bitterness throughout. There's a little bit of sweet malt to begin with lemon and citrus coming through in the flavour. It's a very crisp and refreshing beer. It's clean, smooth, sweet and malty. It's a great beer to be drinking throughout the night, and it's not too heavy either. which is just as well when you're going to be standing up, sitting down, dancing and doing a conga line, which happened quite often at the Oktoberfest. It's an excellent German beer from the experts in the craft. So as you probably gathered, we had a great time at Oktoberfest, but we're not quite done with this video yet, for I have another Oktoberfest themed beer in my perfect draft machine to pour out and try. So seeing as I still have my lederhosen on, let's finish off with the Spaten Oktoberfest. So, beer in the glass, or rather beer in the stein, and you can actually see my face through it, it's that clear. Oh dear, that's something you didn't want to see, is it? Oh dear, what a sight. I'm sure none of you wanted to sleep tonight anyway. Right, well, enough of that, onto the beer. You can see that there's plenty of carbonation rolling up the glass, lots of bubbles going off there. The beer is a beautiful golden straw colour. We don't seem to be getting much of a head though, and I'm tempted to put that down to this glass being an older glass and not being nucleated. On the aroma, I'm picking up plenty of sweet malt and caramel, a little hint of syrup in there too perhaps. It's very pleasant. So anyway, let's try this out. Prost! As we quite often were saying during the festival. Let's get stuck into this. So as you can tell from my immediate reaction, this is a lovely pint. It really is. It's sweet and malty in the taste. Again, from the aromas, there's the little caramel and the syrup in there. That carries through into the flavour. It's, again, like with the Lowenbrau, this has got more kick to it than the regular version of Spaten that we've reviewed here before. How are we pronouncing that? Spaten or Spartan? I think I've said both throughout the course of this video. Anyway, it's a good body of beer, not too thick, and it's very easy drinking, and it does leave behind a lovely mouthfeel in the aftertaste. Again, like with the Lowenbrau Oktoberfest, the drinkability of this beer is very good. It might be a little dangerous considering the ABV level. Again, you would quite happily get through quite a few pints of this in one evening. Fantastic stuff. And again, going into my top 10, which at the moment doesn't exist. If you do want to see a top 10 video, then do be sure to check out Paul and Michelle's beer reviews over at Rate My Beer. They've both done their own separate top 10 perfect draft kegs review, so well worth checking out. This is the reason why you buy a perfect draft to begin with. It's not to drink Budweiser, it's not to drink Tennent's, it's not to drink Stella, it's to drink something truly special like this. I had high expectations for both of these beers on Perfect Draft and neither of them disappointed. So if you have the opportunity to get hold of an Oktoberfest bundle from Perfect Draft, where you'll get both the Oktoberfest versions of Lowenbrau and Spaten, then do not let that opportunity pass you by, because everyone does try to get hold of these when they first come out. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed the beer reviews and the footage from the Oktoberfest, and I hope that persuades you to go to an Oktoberfest yourself. This is the first time that Butlins actually held an Oktoberfest on their premises, and it was a rousing success, and I'm sure they'll do it again for 2023. If you have enjoyed this video, then please do be sure to leave a like and a comment. Please also subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell to be notified whenever I have a new video up for you to watch. Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Club. Today we're going to be looking at 4 different lagers from around the world. But first, we're going to start things off with our first ever viewer's recommendation. Thank you to 1989 Worms 1, otherwise known as Hugo Goncalves. He is a regular viewer of my videos and he's asked me to cover a lager called Superbock from his home country of Portugal. Well, how could I possibly say no to that? In the glass, this is a clear, golden coloured beer with some decent levels of carbonation. You can probably see the bubbles rolling up the glass from this bit of footage here. There's not much in the way of a head, but I'll put this down to it being in a small bottle to begin with. There's a pleasant aroma of malt and barley with hints of honey and lemon. Very pleasant stuff. Onto the taste, and I'm picking up the aforementioned honey and lemon in the flavour as well. It's quite floral and light. It's very clean, crisp and refreshing. And as you can see here, I found the beer to be very drinkable. I can really see why this is the best-selling beer in Portugal. There's a very good reason for that. The only problem I have with this is that the bottle is too small. Oops. So I'll need to track down a larger sized bottled version of this beer, I reckon. So, thank you Hugo for recommending this lager to me. And if you have any beer recommendations of your own from your own home countries, then do be sure to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll do my very best to get through as many as I can, for reviewing purposes, of course. Oh, it's a difficult job, but someone's got to do it right. Next up, watch out because we've got a goose on the loose. It appears that German-based supermarket Aldi and the Goose Island Beer Company from Chicago, Illinois, have made a beer together. It even has Aldi's colours on the can. This is an IBL, an Indian Pale Lager, coming in at 5% ABV. I've had a number of Goose Island's beers before and reviewed them here on the channel. They were actually available as kegs on the Perfect Draft. They've had the Golden Goose Lager and the Goose Session IPA, and I found them very enjoyable. But how does this Goose on the Loose compare to those? Let's be honest, Aldi, they have been a little bit hit and miss with their craft beer selection in the past. I have done numerous videos on these before. The last one I did on Aldi beers was the Brewdog knockoffs, and those weren't any good at all, let's be brutally honest. So we're trying this one out round at my friend Joshua's house. We've got the beer in the glass and it's golden amber in colour, slightly see-through. There doesn't seem to be a massive amount of carbonation going on inside the glass, and on the head we seem to have quite a variation on that. Josh has got about 3 fingertips of foam, whilst I've got less than a fingertip of it. So on the aroma, there's a little bit of grapefruit and orange in there, not much, but it is there. On the taste, it is nice and hoppy, clean, crisp, refreshing and fruity. We're getting grapefruit, we're getting orange peel, it's lemony, spicy and peppery. There's a nice bit of sweetness at the beginning and a brilliant bit of hoppy bitterness on the back end. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm actually rather impressed by this. It's not the greatest Indian Pale Lager I've ever tried, indeed it's not even the greatest lager I've ever tried from Goose Island. Their Golden Goose Lager is far better than this. But for an Aldi craft beer, this isn't bad. They've finally come up with something that I enjoy. Regular viewers of my channel will have seen this next beer, Flag Special, crop up on my videos previously when I was doing my short vlog series on our recent holiday to Agadir in Morocco. Morocco isn't exactly the kind of place you'd associate with beers. This is a predominantly Muslim country after all. So as a result, this was the only beer that the hotel we were staying at had on draft. And to be fair, it wasn't too bad. This beer has originally come from a microbrewery in France, which makes sense as French is one of the languages widely spoken in Morocco. In the glass, well, the plastic glass, it's a light golden coloured beer. On the taste, it's very crisp, mellow and refreshing. The type of beer that you would very comfortably be able to drink all day, so it's perfect for poolside. The beer is light, smooth, sweet and malty, and there's a pleasant aftertaste on the back end as well. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. I'll be looking out for this again next time I'm in Morocco, and I'll be keeping an eye out for it in the world beer section of supermarkets and beer shops. So this next beer, Madri Exceptional Lager, has been everywhere for a while, and I've been looking for the opportunity to try some of this on draft. And that opportunity came when I went to Butlins in Skegness for Oktoberfest, which you would have seen in the previous episode of Beer Club. This beer comes from Molson Coors, who for years were best known for the likes of Carling. Now they've realised that they've had to move with the times and come up with something new to rival the likes of Birra Moretti and Peroni. So they have created this collaboration with a smaller brewery called La Sagra in Madrid. So, got the beer in the glass, there's not much in the way of aroma, it's a little hoppy and spicy, but that's about it. But it's when we come to the taste that you'll start to pay attention. It's slightly sweet at the beginning, biscuity and malty with a hint of lemon. The beer is very refreshing and massively drinkable, and there's some hoppy, spicy notes on the back end. This was very enjoyable. It's the type of beer you could comfortably drink throughout the day. Even my wife, who isn't a massive lager drinker, was enjoying a few pints of this. We certainly had this a couple of times over the weekend before we went off to get dressed into our lederhosen and have a couple of steins over at the Oktoberfest beer hall. It's a nice cheap fridge filler for the summer, and I'll highly likely get this again. So that is it for another video. This wasn't intended to be a World Cup of beers or anything like that. I mean, let's be honest, at the moment the World Cup and beer aren't exactly going well together at the moment. But if you have enjoyed this short trip around the world in beer form, then please do leave a like and a comment. Please also subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell to receive updates on whenever I have a new video up for you to watch. Make sure to share this video across your social media platforms, and whilst you're at it, you can give my social media pages a follow as well. Finally, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video and for stopping by the channel. And we'll catch you again next time. Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Club, and as you can see, it's snowing here at the Mother's Tavern, which can only mean one thing: it's time for the Christmas special. So for this particular episode, we've got ourselves 3 different kegs on Perfect Draft to review, as well as one for the blade machine as well. So let's pop inside the tavern, let's get ourselves warm, and let's get that first pint poured. So first up, we've had a delivery for my blade machine, an 8-litre keg of Tiger Singapore Lager, 4.8% ABV. In the glass we have an amber coloured beer. It's quite clear and there's good levels of carbonation, plenty of bubbles rolling up the glass. We've got about 2 fingers of white head now that it's had a chance to settle down. On the aroma, it's malty and crisp with a little bit of lemon and spiciness. Onto the taste, it's light, crisp and refreshing. The carbonation pushes the beer around the inside of the mouth, leading to a very pleasant mouthfeel. It's smooth, clean, sweet and a little spicy. It's a brilliant beer to go with food. You can see why this beer tends to get sold in a lot of Indian restaurants, as this is absolutely superb with a curry. It's definitely more of a summer beer. Get this in on curry nights, or when the hot weather returns and you're having a barbecue in the garden, because this is the ideal beer for that type of weather. It is the most popular beer in Malaysia, and it's really not difficult to see why. Yep, I'm very happy with that. So from there we're going to move on to the Perfect Draft, and it's safe to say that 2022 has been a great year for new releases on this machine. So much so that I'm planning on doing a separate top 5 keg video for 2022. That'll be a future video, probably have that up before the end of the year. And this first beer is already a likely candidate for that top 5. It's the Camden Hell's Lager, one of the new releases for 2022, coming in at 4.6% ABV. I am a big fan of Camden Town Brewery. Regular viewers of my channel will see that earlier on in the year I visited their tap room in London, and shortly after I put that video on YouTube, Camden Town actually got in touch with me and very kindly sent me a box of beers to review as well. Very happy with that, and I was very happy when it was announced that their Hell's Lager was coming to Perfect Draft. So I'm going to be pouring this into a proper Camden Town pint glass. Come on, it has to be done. Like with a blade, you might want to pull a bit of the beer through the line first, otherwise you might get a lot of foam if you try to pull a full pint from the start. As you can see, I've learnt my lesson from the blade. If you do that, if you pull a bit of beer through the line first, you will get yourself a perfect first pour like this. In the glass, this is a straw-coloured beer, nice and crisp and clear. There's plenty of carbonation rolling up the glass, and we're getting about 2 fingers of lovely white head. On the aroma, it smells lovely and crisp, nice and malty, and a little spicy and peppery on the back end. On the taste, it's a light, smooth, sweet lager, nice and wafer-like and biscuity, with a subtle bitter finish on the back end. Not overly bitter, but enough to make this a well-balanced beer, and one that is very drinkable indeed. You could quite easily drink quite a few pints of this. It's a good British thirst quencher, crisp and refreshing, light, clean, smooth, hoppy and sweet. This is a lager that would be great with food as well, especially pizza or an assorted meats and cheeses board. Here's hoping that this is only the start of Camden Town's relationship with Perfect Draft, as there are a number of other beers from this brewery that I would like to see becoming available as kegs for the Perfect Draft machine. This is a great Hell's Lager to enjoy with your mates, and yeah, very high recommendation on this.
Cheers. Camden Town Brewery.
I just realised I was not in frame there whatsoever. So I was like,
I'm keeping that in, that's pretty good.
From there, we're going to move on to Adnam's Ghost Ship. This is Adnam's first ever keg on the Perfect Draft machine. So in the glass we have a golden amber coloured beer with a little bit of haze. There's plenty of carbonation going on. You can see the bubbles rising up the glass. There's about a finger's worth of white creamy head. We're getting a lovely fruity aroma. I'm getting grapefruit, citrus, a little bit of tangerine with some malt coming through. Very nice, very pleasant smell. On the taste, there's a little bit of maltiness to begin with. Then you're getting that fruitiness coming through. There's the citrus, there's the grapefruit. There's that smooth and amazingly hoppy, biscuity and bready taste coming through on the back end. This is a good body of beer, and it's a nice, easy drinking one too. You would quite happily drink through a few pints of this, and again, this is another one that would go down very well in the summer, in the garden, with a barbecue. You can tell I'm looking forward to the summer months already, can't you? For many years, hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of people have been duped by Hollywood celebrities like George Clooney into thinking that what they need is a coffee machine in their kitchen. Not so. What you need is one of these, a Perfect Draft machine which can dispense chilled Hawkstone lager. There we go. Fuck off, George Clooney. So this is Hawkstone Lager. This is Jeremy Clarkson's own lager that is brewed on the grounds of his diddly squat farm. You might have even seen some of his adverts for the lager, which are very tongue-in-cheek and definitely aren't going to be shown on television. These are going to be YouTube adverts only. So in the glass, this is a beautiful golden colour, quite clear in the glass. There's some good levels of slow-moving carbonation rolling up the glass. There's just about a finger's worth of white head. On the aroma, there's a slight sweetness, quite malty and hoppy, a slight hint of citrus. It's a very pleasant smelling lager. On the taste, we're getting a little bit of sweetness from the malt coming through first, with a little bit of bitterness on the back end. It's very hoppy and very drinkable, and it makes a brilliantly balanced beer. Clarkson might have made some questionable comments recently in his newspaper column, which I won't go into, but at least his farm makes a good lager. Myself and my buddy Kyle managed to polish off pretty much a whole keg of this in one night, and I'll definitely be getting it in again soon. This is a great little beer shop located within Pontefract's indoor market. They sell a fantastic selection of craft ales, ciders, beers and lagers from around the world. And yes, they sell Perfect Draft kegs as well. So if you find yourself in Pontefract, then do be sure to give the House of Ales a visit and tell them that the Big Daddy D sent you. So these beers are actually brewed and canned by Vocation Brewery, which will certainly explain how good they are. Regular viewers of my channel will know that I have nothing but high praise for Vocation. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they've come up with under this Stormtrooper branding. I'm loving the artwork on these cans, by the way. You might have seen that I have some of the artwork up on the walls of my pub shed, the Mathers Tavern, in the form of this poster and these beer mats. So the first beer we're going to review here today is the Light Speed Pilsner. This is a classic, refreshing lager coming in at 5% ABV with a bit of a twist to it. In the glass, it is a golden straw colour in appearance with a decent amount of carbonation rolling up the glass. There are some lovely fruity, hoppy aromas thanks to some specially imported US hops of Cascade and Chinook, which give the beer a great smell of fresh citrus and stone fruits. On the taste, there's a subtle maltiness with hints of grass and corn, which is balanced out beautifully by a gentle, crisp bitterness. This would go brilliantly with some spicy dishes and char-grilled meats, so you might want to get a few of these in for the summer garden parties. Next up, there's a Stormer Brewing. This is an American brown ale, coming in at 5.4% ABV that uses 7 different varieties of malt to provide some delicious aromas and flavours of coffee, chocolate, nutty caramel and dates, which is balanced out brilliantly by the citrus and marmalade that comes from 3 different US hops. Yes, you heard me right, I said marmalade. And believe me, it really does work well. In the glass, the beer is a ruby brown colour with a creamy body and a fluffy light brown head of foam. It's an easy drinking, bitter and malty beer with a pleasant sweetness that will go excellently with cheese, meats and seafood. Next up, aren't you a little stout for a trooper? This is really taking us to the dark side with Shadow Stout. This is a strong, rich and aromatic beer coming in at 6.6% ABV, which is velvety black in appearance, with a creamy tanned head of foam and some wonderful aromas of vanilla, chocolate and coffee. Using a unique blend of carefully roasted malts of pale, chocolate and roasted barley, this results in a smooth and creamy chocolate flavour, together with a satisfyingly bittersweet aftertaste. It's a beer to have either on its own or with rich foods such as steak pies, stews, barbecue ribs and Stilton cheese. And finally, we have the latest creation from the Stormtrooper beer brand, just released this month. I don't even think it's on Untapped at the moment. This is the Full Meta Trooper Lager, brewed with a selection of hops, including Citra and Bavaria Mandarina. This is a hazy, pale, unfiltered craft lager, coming in at 4.6% ABV. In the glass, it's a golden pale colour with a subtle haze, plenty of rolling carbonation, about a finger's worth of white foamy head, and an aroma of light malt with some fresh citrus. The addition of Spanish orange peel also gives this beer a tangy twist. On the taste, it's a light, citrusy and deliciously thirst-quenching lager with a crisp, dry finish. The drinkability of this beer is excellent, and it would be perfect alongside spicy food, burgers and salads. I've certainly enjoyed my time through the space craft beer cosmos, and I've no doubt that I'll be trying some more of the Stormtrooper beer range very soon here on the channel, and making another trip to House of Ales, of course. In the meantime, if you have enjoyed this video, then please do me a favour and be sure to leave a like and a comment, as it really does help out the channel. So yes, today on Beer Club we've come to the Kirkstall Brewery taproom and kitchen in Leeds for some much needed fresh beer and stone baked pizza on this hot sunny day. The brewery is found on Kirkstall Road, a short walk from Leeds city centre, just in between the ITV studios and the Archive venue where this year's Leeds Horror Film Festival was held. So we're going to pop inside and indulge ourselves. This is going to be a combination of new reviews, plus we'll be looking back on some previous beers from Kirkstall Brewery that we've looked at before here on Beer Club. First of all, I just want to take the time to admire the decoration inside. This is the type of decoration that I tried to go for in my own pub shed, the Madness Tavern. What with the amount of artwork and memorabilia on the walls, but of course these guys have taken it to a much bigger level. I was spending a good portion of time just looking around at all the different things on display on the walls. Fantastic. Oh, and of course, the brewery itself can be seen. So as you're enjoying your pint, you can see exactly where it all came from. One of the first beers I ever had from Kirkstall Brewery was Virtuous, an aromatic session IPA coming in at 4.5% ABV. This would often be found on tap in many bars across Leeds, which is where I first came across it. After pouring the beer into a glass, we're getting a light amber straw-coloured beer with a decent sized head of foam. It's a clear beer with just a slight amount of haze and some good levels of carbonation. On the aroma, we're getting a light combination of lemon and grapefruit, a little bit of spiciness in there too, along with some hints of caramel. On the taste, it's bursting with flavour as you're greeted with a touch of mango and passion fruit along with some honey. It's spicy and peppery with a lovely amount of bitterness on the back end that leaves a truly satisfying aftertaste. This is a great little old school IPA that never fails to be enjoyable. So the first beer we tried on tap at the brewery was called Is the Manager In? This is an extra pale ale, however it is more golden in colour than you might have expected once it's poured into the glass. There's a pleasant fingertip worth of foam and there's a pleasant floral aroma on the nose. This is a beer that was brewed for International Women's Day and it was made to ensure that it would pack all the hoppy flavour and drinkability of some of Kirkstall's classic cask ales, but with an ABV pumped up to 5.5% for some well-rounded and strong, robust, fruity flavours with a heavy, bitter finish. If you like your beers hoppy and strong, then be sure to check this out if you see it on tap. Perpetuous is a hazy New England session IPA coming in at 4.2% ABV that combines together several different American hops including Citra and Simcoe. In the glass it has a straw-coloured hazy pale appearance with a single finger of foam. As expected with the hops being used, there are plenty of tropical notes in the aroma, predominantly grapefruit, but we're also getting some lemon and a little bit of honey in there too. On that first taste we're getting those same fruity aromas carrying over into the flavour with some hints of pine in there. It's sweet but not too overpowering, it's soft and fruity with a sharp hoppy note and a light tangy bitter finish, which all makes for a lovely easy drinking IPA. So another one of the beers that we tried in the tap room itself is Jasper. Now, what makes Jasper unique is that it's a beer that is part of a rotating series that features different combinations of fresh American hops each time it's brewed. This particular version that we tried was referred to as the Jasper Citra Mosaic, due to those hops being used. In the glass, it's a golden coloured beer, very hazy in appearance, and there's a good amount of foamy head, just over a finger's worth. It's also a very pleasant smelling beer with floral and fruity aromas. Then on the taste we're getting flavours of pink grapefruit, tropical fruits, orange, lemon and lime, with a pleasant amount of hoppiness and a lovely soft mouthfeel. Chances are that by the time you get round to trying a Jasper yourself that it might have changed again, but try it, you definitely should do. Kirkstall Brewery have a number of beers in the Dexter range, which are all full-bodied but easy drinking milk stouts. This particular one is called Salted Caramel, which, as the name would suggest, features indulgent salted caramel flavours. Coming in at 5.5% ABV, this is a very dark brown, almost jet black coloured beer in the glass, with a tanned head of chocolatey foam and a wonderfully sweet roasted aroma. You can smell the caramel, the biscuit malt, and oh blimey, yes, it does smell really good. Upon diving in, you're greeted with a velvety, creamy body of beer that makes for a wonderful mouthfeel, before you then start to pick up on the little salty flavours, the biscuit, the caramel, some good roasted bitterness, and a little bit of chocolate sweetness. It's a stout with a nice depth in the taste, and it's absolutely wonderful. If you like your stouts, then definitely look out for this. The last beer that we had in the tap room was the Closed Loop. This is a West Coast IPA that comes in at 5% ABV. The earlier beers that we had in the tap room were on cask, on the hand pull, but this one was on keg. The first thing that struck us was how pleasant and floral that the beer was on the aroma alone. It was very inviting and there was just a touch of orange peel in there on the nose, very nice. And then we came on to the taste itself. It was very sweet, soft and juicy. We were getting citrus, lemon, papaya, orange peel, some hints of pine coming through, with a pleasant amount of hoppiness. It made for a very drinkable IPA, nice and clean, which went down very well indeed, with a pleasant bitterness on the back end. A good, easy drinking beer to go with our pizzas. And finally for this video we have another extra pale ale from Kirkstall, and this is the Three Swords. which I originally came across when it was being sold in the Royal Armouries, which is oddly fitting. This comes out as a very light, amber, straw-coloured beer with a good level of carbonation rolling up the glass, and about 2 fingers worth of foam. There's a good punchy aroma of citrus, passion fruit, mango and grapefruit coming from this, which is rather pleasant and very inviting. Upon diving in, on the taste it's quite bitter to begin with, probably down to the citrus, which actually does result in it being very refreshing. There's grapefruit in there, orange peel, there's that bitterness coming through. It's certainly something very unique, very zesty and punchy, like the beer equivalent of a dry white wine. So this would be a good beer to have alongside pasta and seafood dishes. Very nice, and as the slogan says on the bottle, drink and be grateful. Kirkstall Brewery are one of my favourite Yorkshire-based breweries, and the fact that I don't have to go far to sample some of their beer directly from the source is an added bonus as well. They're definitely worth checking out if you haven't done some already. They certainly don't seem to have put a foot wrong so far with the various different beers that I've tried from them so far, and this certainly won't be the last time that I'll be coming to this tap room. In fact, I think we'll end up going there for lunch again in the near future. If you find yourself in the Kirkstall area, do be sure to pay them a visit. Just look out for that big K and you can't go wrong. I had previously covered this bottle shop when I was putting together my compilation of beers from the White Hag Irish Brewing Company, but I did want to come back here at some point and make a proper video on this place. So this is a warehouse style of bottle shop, and as you can see, the place is quite a fair old size. I mean, just take a look around. As I mentioned in my early video, this place is essentially like a sweet shop for craft beer lovers, and you will be spoilt for choice. It's not just beer here either, but there's also plenty of ciders, wines and spirits as well. Some of the alcohol here is nearing its best before date, but that's the reason why the prices are so good, and everything is still suitable for drinking. I actually spoke to the owner of the shop this time. It's not just short-dated beer that's being sold here, but also overstock as well, when too much beer has been bought by pubs and bars and they basically want to sell it on and get rid of it. And it also means that the stock changes on a regular basis, so there's no chance of getting bored with seeing the same thing every time you visit. Although having said that, you will often see Magic Rock in here, but that's to be expected considering that the brewery is also Huddersfield based.
Yes.
As mentioned in the earlier video when I came in here, the place is essentially like a sweetie shop for craft beer lovers, to the point where it even has a pick and mix section. I mean, look at this, any 18 beers for £9. That's an absolute bargain. Some of these beers actually previously popped up in a Beer 52 box when I was subscribed to them originally. This is a great way of picking up some old favourites, as well as trying out some new beers that you might not have come across otherwise. Speaking of Beer 52, if you feel like picking up a mystery box of beers, then the Crate Escape also has a number of Beer 52 boxes as well. What's inside? No idea. You'll have to buy one and find out. So as I mentioned earlier, they've got some stuff that's in date, there's a couple of bits and pieces that's out of date, there's some stuff that's just simply from overstock. You'll probably notice as the video's gone on that there's like lots of different sort of bargains in the background. I'm not going to point out all the different individual bargains I've got here because, again, it changes all the time, and by the time you've seen this video and made your way down there, then the offers might be different. But looking around, you can get an idea of the type of bargains that they'll have here in the shop. They just seem to get better and better every time I come. I mean, they've even got perfect draft kegs in here now. I mean, just look at this. So I'm going to be stocking up on refreshments for the Mabbers Tavern, mainly looking for fridge fillers, and needless to say, I'll keep coming back here very soon whenever the Mabbers Tavern requires a bit of a restock. Yeah, this was a fantastic place to visit. I think this might be the cheapest, well, the biggest and cheapest bottle shop in the UK. You can quote me on that. So thank you to the staff, first of all, at the Crate Escape for letting us film in here. Yes, we did ask this time. I was a little bit cheeky and I didn't ask last time. I just sneakily whipped out the phone and just filmed a couple of pieces here and there. But yeah, I did ask this time, and it was great being able to sort of talk to the staff there, being able to talk to the owner, and just sort of get a feel of what the sort of the place is like. So yeah, if you're a craft beer lover and you find yourself in Huddersfield, come down and have a look around the Crate Escape. It's just off the Ring Road, and you're absolutely guaranteed to find some bargains and to find some niche beers that you wouldn't normally find. So hello there and welcome to another episode of Beer Club, and today we are at the Yorkshire Craft Beer Festival here at Yorkshire Craft Beers for some good times, some good food and hopefully some good beer as well. Now, a beer festival can often be quite an overwhelming experience, and the urge to jump right in and try everything is natural. For example, here at the Yorkshire Craft Beer Festival, there were 22 different beers in total across 6 cask lines and 16 keg lines. And yeah, you probably would want to try them all. But before you do that, or before you start thinking about attending a beer festival yourself over the summer, allow us to provide you with our top 10 tips on enjoying as well as surviving a craft beer festival. Number 1, know your tolerance. Tolerance is key to these events, and you should get to know yours before you go. How much beer can you handle? Where is that sweet spot for you, where you're just nicely drunk enough to enjoy the vibes, yet still know what's going on around you? And of course, recognising when it's time to take a break. It's also an idea to get a good night's sleeping beforehand, as well as something to eat and drink before you go to the festival, as this will also impact how much you can handle. Number 2, don't drink before you get there. So the important thing with a beer festival is not to have a drink before you come here. I mean, by all means, have a drink of something that's non-alcoholic, you know, like drink some water before you enter the festival, that way you're coming in here with a clear head. But what you don't want to be doing is having a few pints before you get here. The last thing you want before, you know, entering a beer festival, where you're going to be here for a few hours admittedly, is to be already well on your way to being tipsy. It'll spoil your enjoyment of the place, and to be honest, they might end up chucking you out if you're already well into your cups. Also, don't make the mistake that I did, which was go out for drinks the night before, because, you know, I was suffering a bit this morning before I turned up. Learn from my mistakes, learn from my mistakes. Number 3, get in there and back. And speaking of getting there, best thing to do about getting to a beer festival is not to drive there yourself. Either sort out a taxi or an Uber in good time, or get someone to take you there, family member, friend, take you there and drop you off. That way you're not having to worry about it yourself. You really don't want to be the designated driver on this trip, and ideally you want to be getting there as soon as possible for the start. That way you won't be waiting for your first couple of beers. It also means you'll get a chance to talk to some of the various brewers and discuss their different beers with them. It also means that you'll be first in line for the queue for the food as well. Number 4, pace yourself. One of the most important things to do at a beer festival is to pace yourself. Now, let's make this clear. If you're attending a beer festival just for the sole intention of getting drunk, then you should probably just stay at home or just go to the pub. Beer festivals are not a piss up in a brewery, or a drinking marathon, or a frat party. What they are is an excellent opportunity to sample and appreciate a variety of different beers and to expand your horizons and your palate. So in other words, moderation is key, and although you might want to start off your day with a 10% chocolate and fudge porter like what Ian's got, you might want to sort of build up to that. We've started off with what's the vocation one called? Chop and change, which is
that's 4.5.
4.5%. So
10%, it's at least half of that.
But you might want to start off on one that's of a lower ABV and then build your way up to the big ones. It's not a marathon, it's not a sprint, you know. just take your time and
They don't make
smell the roses, or smell the beer in this
they don't make
case.
marathons anymore, are they? Snickers.
Number 5, talk to the brewers. If you're unsure about what to drink, then just ask the brewer themselves. They're not just here to pour you some pints, but also to talk about and to promote their beers, promote their brewery. You might even get a couple of interesting stories out of it. And you'll likely end up trying something a little more niche than what you might normally have. Try to make sure that by the time you leave the festival, you've gotten something out of it other than a free t-shirt or a free glass, or the likelihood of a hangover the morning after. Speaking of which, number 6, keep hydrated. Whilst we're on the subject of hangovers, let's talk about water. Yes, it might seem boring, and yes, you might get the piss taken out of you a little bit by your mates. But seriously, drink plenty of water and keep hydrated. You cannot get enough water in your system. Water is your friend. So maybe after every couple of pints, you drink some water as well. It will keep you cool and refreshed. It's an excellent palate cleanser, and of course it will also lower the chance of you getting a stinker of a hangover the following morning, just in case you decided to completely ignore tip number 4. Number 7, try sour beers. Another good palate cleanser are sour beers. They also tend to have a low ABV as well, so you can quite comfortably drink a few of these throughout the day. Also, it adds a bit of variety to the beers you'll be trying out. You might even come across something that you wouldn't normally try. Not to mention, if you're on Untapped, it will also look quite good on there as well. Number 8, eat. So one important thing to do while you're at the festival, make sure you get something to eat as well. It's very important if you're going to be here for a few hours that you need something to soak up the booze. Now, a lot of beer festivals, we tend to have food stalls, food vans, food courts. At this one that we're at, they're doing sausage rolls, they're doing pies, they're doing loaded fries. As you can see, Josh has made short work of his sausage roll there. So yeah, and we've got all kinds of things. We've got pies, loaded fries, sausage rolls, all sorts of things like that. So it's very important that have something to eat before you come to the festival, and make sure you have something to eat whilst you're at the festival. Nobody wants to drink on an empty stomach. It does not end well if you do. Number 9, dress for the occasion. Beer festivals tend to be hot and sweaty places. They tend to be quite warm, and of course there's also beer farts to look out for. So it's important to dress for the occasion. Hence, it's nice to have maybe like a thin shirt or t-shirt on, and I can't recommend enough wearing shorts.
Put your legs away.
I've got good legs. And it's just to get my legs on camera. Number 10, check your socials. So I mentioned Untapped earlier on. Make sure you stay on top of that, as well as all your other socials, whatever the festival's been held on, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Stay on that, because you might get details of something that's going on at the festival. Plus, it also looks really good as well when you're like telling everyone about what a great time you're having, and those who haven't come have missed out on. So yeah, you go on your socials, but not when you're meant to be chatting. Everyone get off your phone and talk. Look at this. Get off your bloody phones and talk to me.
Yes, the guy Sam filming on his phone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Club. Today, something a little bit different. I'm recording this video in my kitchen, and we are going to be doing an unboxing video of the Pinter 3. It's a fantastic little bit of kit that allows for anyone to make and brew their own beer at home. So Pinter are a London-based company that set out a few years ago with the mission of putting fresh beer in the hands of wannabe brewers who wanted a simple, reliable, mess-free way of making ales, lager and other types of beer at home. So there's been 3 different models that they've done since they started, and the Pinter 3 is their latest build of an all-in-one container that allows you to make and brew 10 pints of beer, which then also becomes a dispenser, letting you pour those 10 pints from your fridge for up to a month. So I was contacted by a chap from Pinter called Riaz. They had seen my videos on YouTube where I'd been reviewing the Perfect Draft Machine, and they wanted to send me a Pinter 3 to review on the channel and to get my thoughts and opinions on. So thank you very much, Riaz, for reaching out to me. So I'm going to make a few videos from this. First one's going to be an unboxing video where I'll unbox this and just sort of take a look at everything. From there I'm going to make a separate video for the actual brewing process. Another video I'll be doing will be for the taste testing. In fact, I'll probably do a few separate brewing and taste testing videos because they've actually sent me more than one beer to make and review. So hopefully I'll get it right and we'll have some lovely tasty beer to review, and if I mess it all up, well, I'm sure you'll probably find that amusing to watch as well. Oh, that's good. Free beer here. Little QR code, I'm not going to let you scan that. Yeah, £20 to spend on any fresh beer of your choosing. Oh, to recommend a friend. So I get £20 of beer and they get £20 off that. Right, I'll keep that. There's the fresh beer club that you can join. Basically it's like a subscription service. They can sort of send you more sort of packs of beer each month. So yeah, like a subscription service. So you can cancel that at any time, I'm sure. So here's the inside of the box. I think some of this might just be packaging, to be honest. Oh no, actually it does feel like there's something in there. Right, oh, that's just an empty box. That's just in there for packaging. That's fine. What we got here? Ah, right, so these are some of the Pinter packs. They've actually sent me two. In fact, I'll show you the first one that they've sent me. So when I was contacted, I was asked, right, what do you drink? Do you drink beer? Do you drink cider? Have a look on our website, see what I'd like them to send me. So I saw that they had this Naughty and Spice, which is a spiced Belgian dark ale. And I said, it's a bit cheeky, but would you mind sending me this one? And they replied, well, you know what, yeah, it does make sense that we send you that one because it's a seasonal one. So it's like, right, we'll send you that one, but then we'll also send you another one that will, you know, do you want to pick, or shall we send it as a surprise? I says, you send whatever. So they've sent me a Weiss Nights, Hefeweizen, a German beer. So I'm guessing they've looked at some of my previous videos and know that I like my German beer, so thank you for that. So you buy your kits from Pinter. This is essentially what they will look like. They'll look like these. So you'll open them up. There you go. Welcome to all the fresh beer. You'll get your beer pouch there. You'll get your purifier, and you'll get your brewing yeast. A lot of cardboard to recycle. So you'll pour these ingredients into the container itself and pour water in it up to the line. Now, as you probably tell from the accent, I'm from Yorkshire. I'm a Yorkshireman. And up here in Yorkshire, we do have a fantastic quality of water up here. Now, I would say if you do live in a hard water area, you might want to consider maybe getting a water purifier before you start putting that into your Pinter, or even go as far as to buy yourself some bottles of mineral water, just to make sure that the water that you're using when you're making this is going to be of good quality. Again, it's all recyclable. Everything's recyclable. Now, it's all about sustainability, as a lot of things are these days. In keeping in with that idea of sustainability, you don't actually get an instruction book. Instead, it's all in the it's all in a piece of paper with a QR code, which leads to the instructions. It's all on a simple bit of paper. You scan on your phone, and from there you'll get step-by-step instructions on what to do. Although in taking one step forward with the sustainability, they do seem to have taken one step back. Now, the previous Pinters were plastic bottles, and they've switched to these pouches. These actually can't be recycled. So it does seem in taking one step forward, they have taken a step back. Now, the company says they actually use 84% less packaging material than bottles, and they are more environmentally friendly to produce and to ship around because they are lighter. Having said that, they actually are currently working on a recyclable version of these pouches too, so that's a good thing. Right, another box here. This is the Brewing dock. Right, this will be what it sits in, I believe. Let's have a look. Again, all made of plastic, recycled plastic. Okay, so yeah, that's essentially what it's gonna stand in. Is it just that? Right, so there's the dock. Main box itself, let's get this opened. Oh, right, look at this. Welcome to a world of fresh beer. Oh, You can see that looks like it's in a little bag. Opens up quite nicely, does that? This is what it looks like when it's all opened up. Welcome to a world of fresh beer. There's the instructions there for the QR. There's the QR code to download the app, and it's from the app that you'll get the instructions. Here's the handle. Here's the actual thing itself. And here's, oh, fresh notes. What's this bit here? The fresh notes. Oh, okay, so we are still getting an instruction book then, setting up for the app and what have you. Seems a bit silly that they're giving you an instruction book and they're also giving you instructions on the app as well. It's like, well, do one or do the other. It's, no, nicely presented instruction book showing you what you need to do. So I'll have a proper read of that later. Here's some of the beers that they'll do. They're doing IPAs, they're doing ciders, all kinds to choose from. They're doing stouts, American pale ales. Oh, there's the Weiss Nights that they've sent us. Okay, I'll have a proper read of that later on. Right, there we go. There's the handle. I do like that. That feels like quite a sturdy handle. Chrome handle. Genuinely a lovely tap. That actually does feel very nice to hold and to pull. That is genuinely a lovely tap handle. It feels very sturdy. I do find it quite amusing that when it's on display it looks like a huge exclamation mark. So the Pinter 3 has addressed the problems and criticisms that the Pinter 2 had. One of the main ones was that the tap on the Pinter 2 wasn't really up to the job. It was designed to solve the original problem that the Pinter 1 had of having to open a valve on the back in order to pour yourself a beer, but the problem was when you did that, at the same time it would let the CO2 escape, and it just ended up leading to the beer going flat if you were drinking it over a couple of weeks. So when they redesigned the tap for the Pinter 2, that supposedly allowed beer to be poured at pressure, but all that meant is that you'd be ending up with a glass full of foam, all head and no beer. That's no good at all. This new tap on the Pinter 3 is called the Active Pour Tap. That's now solved these issues. Beer's going to no longer shoot out at high pressure, thankfully, and instead should now deliver a pub-style beer with the proper head. Now the really good news is that if you've already lashed out a few quid for the Pinter 2, you don't need to pay for an entirely new one to take advantage of the improvements. You can actually just buy the new tap on its own as an upgrade for £30, which that's not too bad. What colour have we got? Oh, looks like it's a blue one. Let's take a look. Oh, and there it is. There it is. There we go. Nice sturdy model. So you see when you put the handle on it, looks like an exclamation mark. I've not actually used a Pinter before. I have been interested in getting one for a while, so I have already been doing a bit of research on this. Now, the Pinter 1 was a plastic model, whilst the Pinter 2 was made from aluminium, as was its dock. But that just ended up making it rather heavy, especially when it was filled with liquid. Now for the Pinter 3, they have gone back to a plastic body and dock, and it uses partly recycled materials. This is not only better for the environment, but it also means that it's cheaper, as you're not paying for a premium metal material. And as expected, going back to a plastic material means that it's a lot lighter than the previous model, which means that it's going to be a lot lighter to lift up and shake when you mix in the syrupy malt extract with the water before adding the yeast. What hasn't changed, at least noticeably, is the design of the keg. It's basically identical to the Pinter 2, but with a rubber strip around it and rubber feet on the back. Here we've got a rubber band around it. We've got rubber feet, so it's not going to go anywhere once you put it down somewhere. And also the tap unscrews for easy cleaning. You could probably take that camping with you, couldn't you? If you brewed it up the day before, took it camping with you, a couple of days into your camping holiday, you've got lovely fresh beer to drink. Just one thing I want to point out, as you can see, it's quite a fairly large unit, but as you can see, it doesn't actually plug into anything. So, unlike other beer machines that I've reviewed on the channel before, the Pinter doesn't actually chill the beer itself. That means you're going to have to find room for it in the fridge. Now, that's not such a bad thing if you've got a separate beer fridge in your man cave or pub shed like I have, but if you're going to end up keeping this in your fridge that's in the kitchen, well, chances are it might be taking up quite a bit of space in the average fridge, and it's going to need to be in there for at least a week or two for conditioning, and after that it still needs to be kept cold so it's ready to drink. And you also might not be very popular with the rest of your family if it does mean that there's going to be not enough space left for food. Plus, if your fridge isn't very deep, I suppose you're going to have to place it sideways, and you're going to have to move it every time you want to pour a pint. Even if there's enough depth, you're probably going to have to still pull it forward so that the tap's going to hang over the edge each time. Another problem I've spotted, there's no actual gauge to show you how much beer is left. Although, to be fair, that's been an issue with every pinter. Maybe that's something they can consider for the Pinter 4, perhaps. This is just the unboxing video, so yeah, we're going to make a second one shortly where we'll go through the brewing process and we'll be able to see how we do it. We'll take a look at the app, see what that's like to use. So yeah, looking forward to having a go at this. Like I said, hopefully it'll turn out well, and we're going to have some lovely fresh beer to review when I come to doing a third video. So yeah, hopefully it'll turn out nicely, and if I do muck it up, you can always tell me in the comment section where I've gone wrong, and you can laugh at the hairy Yorkshireman for cocking up his beer. Brewed, this naughty and spiced Belgian ale should have an ABV of 5.8%. We can scan the QR code on the back of the pack for brewing times and instructions, and from looking at this, it will take 7 days to brew and another 3 days to condition. So it turns out that the Pinter 3 is actually really easy to use, and it's made almost foolproof thanks to a companion app. This includes videos that will walk you step by step through the entire process, from cleaning, brewing and conditioning. As long as you follow the instructions to the letter, you will end up with properly fermented beer that will taste good. Well, I'm certainly hoping so anyway. The app also serves as a calendar and notifies you when it's time to move on to the next stage. And you can choose whether to use the shortest timings, extended times, or your own custom timeline. If you're new to brewing like we are, then you may be tempted to go with the shortest timing, but it is probably wise to pick the extended time to ensure fermentation has completely finished and to give the beer more time to condition for a better tasting pint. However, on this occasion, I am going to do as the instructions tell me, and then we'll go from there with any future beers that I make with the Pinter. So, on the back of the Pinter itself is a carbonation dial, effectively a pressure release valve. There's also a port for the hopper, which is where you'll add the hop oil after fermentation is finished. Now, not every beer will have this, so seeing as the naughty and spice doesn't come with hop oil, we won't be paying any attention to that for this video today. This should be a fairly mess-free process, but just in case, you're probably going to want to make sure that you're doing everything over the sink, just to be on the safe side. So we're going to fill the Pinter up to the line with fresh water. There's a visible line that will fill this up to that you can clearly see here. Now, as I mentioned in my previous video, the unboxing video, I'm from Yorkshire, the accent probably gives it away, and as a result we tend to have fantastic water in this part of the country. But if you live in a hard water area, then you may want to consider either getting a water purifier or just buying some bottles of mineral water. Either way, you need to make sure that the water that you're using for this brew is of a decent quality. I've already cut open the packet, so let's get this poured in. As you can see, it looks very thick and syrupy. It feels like jelly in the packet, and I'll be honest, it smells gorgeous already. Smells really, really good. Make sure that you squeeze every last bit out because you are going to need it. From there, we're adding the fresh brewing yeast, which also comes in its own packet, and then we're screwing the lid securely back on. Again, do this over the sink just to be on the safe side. So once you've given it a good shake, screw on the brewing dock, which you should hear click into place, and then turn it upside down. So we now need to put the pinter somewhere safe where it's going to be at room temperature for 7 days, and there's no chance of it getting moved or knocked about. You need to make sure that it's not disturbed. The Naughty and Spiced, a Belgian spiced dark ale with an ABV of 5.8%, and the result was worth it. Let's just say that off the bat right now, it was well worth it. Even after only a week of brewing and a few days of conditioning, it was ready to drink. I might have to get used to pouring a pint of this from the pinter though. It can be a bit lively upon that first pour. Still, it doesn't take long to settle if it does. The beer is sort of like a dark, sort of amber colour in appearance. I can't really see the carbonation, so I can't tell if it's carbonated properly. I really hope it has done so. I'm hoping I've left it brewing and conditioning for long enough. Spoiler, I have. There was quite a big head upon its first pour, but it soon settles down to about 2 fingertips worth of foamy white head. Now, on the aroma. Let's talk about the aroma for a moment. Oh, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful to smell. Very Christmassy, very festive. Lots of spice and clover. I'm getting caramel and cinnamon. It certainly does smell like a festive beer, something that you would enjoy on a lovely, cosy winter evening. Maybe in front of the fire, you've got your slippers on, you've got Slade or Bing Crosby playing in the background. Perfect, spot on. Let's move on to the main event here, the taste. That's what we're here for, isn't it? The taste. What's it like? Well, I'm pleased to say it's fantastic. It's malty to begin with, followed by a lovely rich sort of caramel sweetness in the ale with zests of ginger and cinnamon. There's a pleasant bitterness on the back end, which leads to a lovely mouthfeel, a lovely sort of tingling of bubbles on the tongue. It is quite strong. It's stronger than I thought it would be. I mean, I know it's an ABV of 5.8%, but yet it was stronger than what I thought it would be. It's not overpowering, but it is one to sip and savour and enjoy. But I can honestly say, yeah, wow. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed with how well that's turned out. I'm dead chuffed, if I'm being honest. I'm dead chuffed with how that's turned out. Again, look at this. There's a lovely amount placing on the glass. It smells wonderful. It tastes great. Again, not for quaffing. It's not a session ale. It's not designed to be a session ale. It's designed for you to sit back, put your tree up, put some Christmas tunes on, get a pint of that going. Wonderful, absolutely brilliant. You can tell this is a good quality fresh beer and it pours out great, which is all thanks to the new tap that the Pinter Free has. There's no elastic restraining strap nor a locking mechanism. It just feels really good to sort of pour. Doesn't leak. I mean, there's a couple of drips that pop out after pouring a pint. I mean, I've got it here just on the edge of my bar. You might just want to just have to sort of deal with a couple of drips when you first pour it, which is to be expected. So yeah, I'm very pleased with how this first brew's turned out, and I will definitely be making further videos where I'll be brewing and tasting more beers that I've made on the Pinter Free. There's still the German beer, Weiss Nights, to try out that Pinter sent me for reviewing purposes. And I've also, as part of my sort of first beer, my first free beer as part of Fresh Beer Club, I've actually ordered a cider to try out as well. Something a bit different. So look out for those videos coming to the channel very soon. If you are planning on brewing on a sort of regular basis, it can actually be worth buying what is essentially a second pinter, a co-pinter, for the lower price of £69.99. So this is essentially just the pinter keg without the dock. And it means that you can have one beer on tap whilst brewing the next, which isn't a bad idea, come to think of it. So with my final verdict of the pinter, I can honestly say that even if Pinter hadn't got in touch with me and offered to send me one for free for reviewing purposes, I would have probably ended up buying one anyway. I mean, I've sort of looked at what was going on with the Pinter 1 and 2. I was doing my research on it beforehand because I was thinking of getting one of these. I was thinking of asking Father Christmas to bring me one. I'm glad that they sent me one, but I would have probably have got one anyway. And it's good to see that they've tried a couple of things out with the first two models to see what's worked and what hasn't worked. And I can also say that Pinter have really nailed it here with the Pinter Free. It's fixed the problems of the first two Pinter models, and it's easy to manage because it's so much lighter. The third time really is the charm here. So it's certainly capable of making great beer that you'll actually want to drink, and if you sign up for the Fresh Beer Club, and pints are pretty reasonable. They work out about £1.70 each, which isn't bad at all. However, I should point out, you shouldn't just buy the Pinter purely as a money-saving exercise. If you're buying Pinter just to get cheap beer, it's not for you. Get the Pinter if you're wanting to do this as a hobby, a nice little hobby, or if you've been interested in like brewing beer before, but you got put off by the potential mess and the messing about that you'd have to do. As a hobby, brilliant, get it. But if you're doing it just to get cheap beer, no, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, it's not here to be a money-saving exercise. It's here to be a bit of fun. It's here to be a fun little hobby. It's here for someone who is generally interested in brewing their own beer. But yeah, if that's something that you're interested in doing, then the Pinter Free should definitely be on your radar. Cheers. So, as I mentioned before here on the channel, I'm a big fan of Camden Town Brewery. I visited their tap room in London in 2022, and shortly after my visit, which I sort of made a video of that, Camden Town actually got in touch with me and very kindly sent me a box of their beers to review as well. So yes, I was very happy with that. You know me, I'm not one to turn down the offer of a free beer, and I'm certainly happy to sing the praises of Camden Town as a brewery. They haven't yet made a beer that I haven't enjoyed thoroughly, and I'm sure that will continue. With that in mind, as I said in my slightly drunk introduction there, I'm going to be reviewing a trio of perfect draft kegs from Camden Town Brewery. So the first one of these is what I had put onto the machine for the Christmas Eve and Christmas Day period when I had family over. This is the Camden Pale Ale. It's an American style pale ale that comes in at 4% ABV, and it has been brewed with numerous different hops including Columbus, Cascade, Amarillo and Citra. As you can see, got myself a proper Camden Town pint glass to pour this into. I mean, come on, it has to be done. So here we go. Beer in the glass. We've got ourselves a clear golden amber colour in appearance, with 2 fingers of slightly off-white head and some really nice looking levels of carbonation. Straight away I'm picking up lots of pleasant aromas from the beer. I can definitely detect that Cascade and that Amarillo in there. It smells really juicy and inviting. So without further ado, let's dive in, shall we? We're getting a beer that on the taste is very quaffable, very drinkable. It's malty, biscuity and a little bit juicy. I'm getting lemon, there's some mango, I'm getting some grapefruit in there too. The carbonation pushes the beer around the inside of the mouth very nicely, leading to a lovely aftertaste without being too overly bitter. It probably could have done with a little more bitterness on the back end personally, but still very enjoyable. We certainly got through a few pints of that during the festive and New Year period. So the next beer I'm going to review is the Camden Hells. I've actually reviewed this before on the channel, but for completionist sake, we may as well include the review here as well, just so we've got the 3 Camden beers covered in one video. When I originally had this in 2022, it was a new keg at that time. I really enjoyed it. In fact, it ended up becoming one of my top 5 perfect draft kegs of 2022. So naturally, I've reordered it again. This Hell's Lager is coming in at 4.6% ABV. Upon pouring in the glass, we're getting ourselves a straw-coloured beer, nice and crisp and clear. There's plenty of carbonation rolling up the glass, and we're getting about 2 fingers worth of lovely white head. On the aroma, it smells lovely and crisp, nice and malty, and a little spicy and peppery on the back end. On the taste itself, we're getting a light, smooth, sweet lager, nice and wafer-like and biscuity, with a subtle bitter finish on the back end. Not overly bitter, but enough to make this a well-balanced beer, and one that's very drinkable indeed. You could quite easily drink a few pints of this, and we certainly did at this New Year's Eve party, put it that way. It's a good British first quencher, it's crisp and refreshing, light, clean, smooth, hoppy and sweet, and it's a lager that would be great with food as well, particularly pizza or an assorted meats and cheeses board. Which is exactly what we had when we went to the Camden Town Beer Hall. We had ourselves a meat and cheeses board with some Camden lager to go with it. Yeah, superb. This is a great Hell's lager to enjoy with your mates, and it comes highly recommended from me. Right. Okay, so we've had a couple of different Camdens. Now we're going to try the latest one that they've released. This is a Camden IPA, an Indian Pale Ale. We're going to whack this in the perfect draft machine now for this New Year's Eve party and see how it goes on with people.
And everyone's going to have a go.
Okay, so as my slightly drunken past self has just said, we've got ourselves the Camden IPA in the perfect draft machine next. This is a West Coast style IPA, coming in at 5.8% ABV. Once poured into a glass, we're getting ourselves a distinctively straw-coloured beer with a lovely frothy white head. On the aroma, it's very floral indeed. There's hints of flour dough and white bread. It makes for a very pleasing and welcoming smell. Upon taking your first taste, the various different hops will hit you in different layers. You start off with big citrusy notes of mandarin orange and grapefruit, followed by a big tropical punch of pineapple, peach and guava. The hops also give the beer some woody notes, which is often the case in a West Coast IPA, giving you a hoppy punch with medium to high bitterness that's well balanced out by the sweetness. We're getting ourselves a crisp and refreshing finish with a lingering hoppy mouthfeel that's very pleasant indeed. So another winner from Camden Town on the perfect draft, and I hope to see more of their beers become available as kegs as well. Right, that's it for another episode of Beer Club. If you have enjoyed the video, then please do leave a like and a comment, share this with your friends across your social media platforms, subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this, and whilst you're doing the whole social media thing, then, well, you might as well follow me on my social media platforms as well. Right, I'm going to go pour myself another drink. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you again next time. Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Beer Club. Once again, I am your humble host, the Big Daddy D, David Madley, and today we are back again with the Pinter Free. There it is. And we are going to be making another beer using this wonderful machine, and this time I have decided to brew the Weiss Nights. This is a Hefeweizen German beer that comes in at 4.6% ABV, and after the success of making the Belgian spiced ale over the Christmas period, the Naughty and Spice, the first beer that I made with the Pinter, I am looking forward to seeing what happens now when we try to do it with a German beer. So that's what's coming up on today's video, so make sure you keep watching. Regular viewers of my channel will remember that Pinter got in touch with me previously, just before Christmas, having seen my reviews of the perfect draft machine and the numerous kegs available that I've reviewed for it. They asked me if they could send myself a Pinter machine and a couple of beers for me to give them the review treatment as well, and well, let's be honest folks, I'm certainly not going to turn down an offer like that, especially when I was considering getting one of these Pinters myself for Christmas and asking old St Nicholas if he won't mind popping one in my stocking for me. You might have already seen my trilogy of Pinter 3 videos so far, where I unboxed it, I brewed a beer with it, and then I taste tested it. So that was the Naughty and Spiced Belgian spiced ale that I did over the Christmas and New Year period, and very well it turned out too. And today I'm going to brew the second beer that Pinter has sent me for reviewing purposes, the Weiss Nights. Now I will say beforehand, before you do anything with this, you need to make sure that you've taken your Pinter through its full purification and sanitization process. You've got to do this before every brew to make sure everything's all nice and clean. I will demonstrate this in another video that I've got planned. I have another video planned that I'm going to be making later where I will show you the full cleaning and sanitation process. I will show you the full end-to-end process from cleaning it, sanitizing it, brewing it, conditioning it and drinking it, the full thing. But for today, this is going to be a shorter video. This is literally just going to be a taste testing video. So for the Weiss nights, this has taken 5 days for brewing and another 7 days for conditioning. That's the recommended time anyway. I don't have a proper Weiss beer glass like what Franz's Kana would do. So the closest I've got is this one here, a Hop House lager glass from Guinness. A German beer going in a Guinness, in an Irish pint glass. Well, again, that's the closest I've got to a Weiss beer pint glass. That is going to have to do. It's going to have to do. Don't you know? Don't be too harsh with me in the comment section, please. Let's get one of these poured out and see how they turn out. I do know that they like to have quite a sizable head on these Weiss beers, but that's quite a sizable head for me. I think I'm going to let that settle before I come back to it. What have we got here? About 4 fingers of head. I mean, it is a lovely sort of nice and foamy head. I can see it's quite hazy, but I don't know if you can see that on camera. There's quite a nice amount of carbonation there. Lots of bubbles rolling up the glass, so that's good to see. Sort of a cloudy, hazy looking body, like a golden sort of hazy colour. But yeah, it looks very nice. It looks very nice. We can certainly get an aroma of it. Let's get a sniff. Oh, right, straight away. I'm getting notes of banana and cloves, which is the type of thing you'd expect to come on a beer like this. But I'm getting some traces of smoked malt as well, which is quite different. And yeah, the banana and cloves, they're a little bit more subtle than what I'm normally used to with a Weiss beer. Normally when I have a Weiss beer, it's quite strong on the nose, but it's a little more subdued with this one. So yeah, but I'm happy with how that smells. I'm happy with how that looks. I'm just going to let that settle for a moment, and then we'll go on to the taste test. Right, settle down a bit now. I'd say it's about just over 2 fingers of foam, so let's give it a go. Oh, nice big draw on that. Right, straight away, very light and refreshing, quite fruity. As expected with a Weiss beer, I'm getting banana, I'm getting cloves, I'm getting some spiciness in there, some breadiness, a bit of smoked malt. It's not particularly bitter. It's very lightly hopped as well. It's perhaps a little bit lighter than what I was expecting. It's actually quite a sessionable ale, I think. Is that you could quite easily sink a few pints of this on an afternoon. Yeah, that's definitely a Weiss beer, and a very nice one it is too. That's another good one from the Pinter then. Very impressed with that. See, normally a beer like this is going to take between 2 weeks to 4 weeks to sort of do in a brewery. You know, an actual brewery at a half Weizen like this. And to say that this is the result we're getting after only, what, 5 days of brewing and 7 days for conditioning, I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with how that's turned out. Just a little bit of behind the scenes. I've actually made 3 brews on the Pinter Free now. I've made the Naughty and Spice, which you saw in a previous video, this Weiss Nights, and I've also made the Waltham Forest Dark Fruit Cider, which you're going to be seeing in a future video. That'll also be the video where they'll do the full sort of end-to-end process, you know, with the cleaning and the purifying as well. Spoiler alert, that one turned out very well as well. In fact, they've all turned out very well indeed. Yeah, I continue to be pleased with what comes out of the Pinter. I'll just grab another one there. Yeah, I've been seriously impressed with the quality of the beer that's been coming out of these, that's been turning out, and I'll certainly be brewing and reviewing some more here on the channel, as I have already subscribed to Pinter's Fresh Beer Club. In fact, that's what I'm just looking at here, just off screen. I have subscribed to Pinter's Fresh Beer Club. So yeah, so not only is the Waltham Forest, the dark fruit cider, a review of that coming up, I have got coming up a collaboration that Pinter have done with Yeastie Boys, and that's going to be their Big Mouth Remixed Session IPA, which I'm really looking forward to trying out. Yeastie Boys, we have featured them on the channel here before. I'll pop a link at the end of this video to our Yeastie Boys Beer Club compilation, so you can check out all the reviews of them. Yeastie Boys have never disappointed so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing the collaboration that they've made with Pinter. Really looking forward to that. Anyway, that's it for another episode of Beer Club. Told you it was going to be a shorter video. If you have enjoyed this video, then please do leave a like and a comment. Please also share this video across your various social media platforms, particularly any social media that's got anything to do with craft beers, real ale, German beer, home brewing, anything like that. Spread this far and wide. Whilst you're on your social media, you may as well follow me on my own social media platforms as well. You may as well, why not? Doesn't cost you anything to do so. And details of those can be found at the end of the video and in the video description. And if you want to see more videos like this, then please do subscribe to the channel. Do be sure to click on that lovely little notification bell to be notified on whenever I have new videos up for you to watch. And in conclusion, thank you very much for stopping by my channel and for stopping by my pub shed, the Mabbers Tavern. And we'll catch you again next time. Once again, thank you to Pinter for sending me this lovely machine in the first place. And yeah, if you decide to take up the home brewing yourself, whether it's through Pinter or anything else, good luck and happy brewing to you. Cheers. Hello beer lovers and homebrew enthusiasts, and welcome to another episode of Beer Club. And today, because it's been a while, we're going to be doing another beer on the Pinter 3. May as well, I mean, we've got the glorious sunny weather returning and the Euros are currently on the telly, so yeah, it's as good a time as any to be making some lovely fresh beer. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Public House IPA made on the Pinter 3. This appears to be a new and improved recipe from what it had before. I can't comment on what it was like previously, as this is literally my first time trying this beer, but let's take a look and see what we've got here. So first off, we're dealing with a sessionable 4.2% ABV brew, which is perfect for those laid back afternoons and evenings when you want to enjoy a few beers without going too overboard. But don't let that modest alcohol content fool you. This isn't just any ordinary beer. We're talking about an award-winning beer here, as this has already claimed honours at the European Beer Challenge, which is certainly something to get excited about. So without further ado, let's dive right in and see if this beer truly lives up to its accolades. Will it be a champion on Beer Club as well? Well, let's find out. In the box we have a pouch of the fresh press, essentially the lovely syrupy stuff that we'll use to make the beer. There's also a sachet of the purifier. Yes, I know I've got two here, but I was keeping a spare in the box. There's also a sachet of the yeast called Loyalty. Now I've noticed that there's different yeasts for different beers and they've all got different names, so make sure that you're using the right one if you've got more than one pinter pack. Now, as I'm pouring the fresh press into the pinter, let me just say that I've seen a few other reviews for this particular beer on YouTube, and for some reason it seems like this is the beer where people seem to fail at, which I suppose is one of the reasons why I thought I'd give it a go. I've done numerous beers now. I've done a German Weiss beer that turned out really well. I did a Belgian spiced ale. I've got a cider coming up soon. So I thought, right, well, let's try one that's not only award-winning, but one that some people on YouTube have had some difficulties in trying. Now, it shows that this is a new and improved formula, so I don't know, maybe some changes have been made since then. Anyway, just making sure that I'm getting every last drop of the fresh press into the pinter, and from here we're going to add the yeast. So recommended brewing time for this beer is 5 days, with a further 7 days for conditioning. Now, as I pour this homebrew from my Pinter 3 into the glass, I'm immediately struck by its rich, dark amber hue. It's a shade deeper than I expected. It looks more like a bitter than an IPA. However, it does perfectly match the description on the Pinter website. Now, having seen other reviews of this beer on YouTube where it looked much lighter, I'm wondering if this is perhaps the result of an improved recipe, or maybe it's just a case that those other YouTubers just needed to up their brewing game. So the beer greets me with a generous 2 to 3 finger head of white foam. It does soon calm down. Admittedly, this is the first pour, so an extra bit of liveliness is to be expected, and it's a promising start that hints at good carbonation. Bringing the glass to my nose, I'm enveloped in a bouquet of floral notes, underscored by a robust malty and yeasty aroma. It's a very inviting scent that is beckoning me to take that first sip. And well, it would be rude not to, wouldn't it? And what a sip it is. On the flavour, we're getting a fantastic balance of malt and hops with a pronounced burst of pine that just dances on the palate. The bitterness sits comfortably in the mid to high range, adding complexity to the beer without overwhelming it. It is also remarkably drinkable, a true session IPA that invites you back for more. Yes, I'm very happy with this, and I really don't see why and how so many people on YouTube went wrong with this. Cheers. For those of you who may prefer a lighter touch, there is a less potent version available entitled Public House Light, which only has an ABV of 3.8%. But for my money, this standard strength is the one that really hits the sweet spot. In conclusion, this Pinter 3 creation is a testament to the potential of home brewing. It's a well-crafted, flavourful IPA that could easily hold its own against more commercial offerings. Whether you're a seasoned beer enthusiast or a curious newcomer, this Amber Delight is well worth the brew. I have further Pinter beer reviews coming up on the channel soon. As mentioned already, I have one for a cider coming up, a dark fruit cider, Waltham Forest. So if you haven't already, why not click on that subscribe button and notification bell in order to get updates on whenever I have a new video up for you to watch. I also have a Pinter playlist on my channel showing not only some of my previous brews, but also unboxing the Pinter and making a brew for the very first time. Also, please do leave a like and a comment on this video, and be sure to share it far and wide across your friends and family and social media pages. In fact, whilst you're on the likes of Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, yes, I refuse to call it X, why don't you follow me on those as well? Go on, you know you want to. It doesn't cost you anything at all, and it helps to get my channel seen by a wider audience. Anyway, thank you very much for stopping by the Big Daddy D Reviews channel, for stopping by the Mabbers Tavern, and we'll catch you again next time. Cheers! Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Club. Today we're making yet another brew on the Pinter 3. After the success of making Belgian spiced beers, IPAs and German wheat beers, we're going to try out something a little different. This time, instead of making a beer, we're going to make ourselves a dark fruit cider, the Waltham Forest. I'm also going to take you through the entire end-to-end process on the video on how to make a brew on the Pinter 3. That will also include the cleaning, purifying, brewing and conditioning process. And of course, the tasting afterwards. Can't forget that. So, let's begin. Upon opening up the box, we are getting a sachet of the yeast called Vigour, a sachet of the purifier that we'll need to use first, and a pouch of the fresh press, which is essentially the lovely syrupy stuff that we'll use to make the cider, which comes in at an ABV of 4.5%. I'm going to brew this for the recommended 11 days, which will be 8 days of brewing and another 3 days for conditioning, as this will give you a more rounded finish. But first of all, let's go through the purifying process, as this is the most important part to get right, and I haven't covered this before on the channel. So let's start with that. So to begin with, make sure that you've got all the parts together, check that the tap is fully screwed into the Pinter, and set the carbonation dial to 5. Now, a lot of you might want to do this in the sink, or even in the bath if your sink isn't big enough. Otherwise, this entire process might get a little bit messy. Fill up the Pinter with hot water from the tap up to the internal black line, which you can just see here. Then, pour the purifier into the Pinter. You'll then need to fit the two parts of the main cap together and make sure that these are secure. From there, screw the main cap onto the front of the Pinter. Now, Using both handles, give the pinter a shake for about 30 to 60 seconds. I normally have a YouTube video of a timer playing in the background to make sure I'm spending enough time doing this. I'll pop a link in the description of a couple of decent ones that I use. This will ensure that the contents of the pinter, the hot water and the purifier will be mixed together properly and will guarantee a better clean. We also need to make sure that the brewing dock has gone through the purifying process as well. So attach the dock to the pinter by aligning the two together and slightly pressing on the centre whilst rotating anti-clockwise. You should hear this click into place. Once this is done, turn the pinter upside down so that it is sitting on the docker itself as a secure base. You should hear the water running through this. Set this aside for about 10 seconds or so. In the sink, hold and twist to remove the pinter away from the docker. Then wash and rinse out the docker thoroughly. We'll next need to purify the carbonation dial, so rotate this anti-clockwise to off and then turn the pinter upside down and let the purifier flow through the dial for 10 seconds. Next, we need to make sure that the tap has been purified. So attach the handle and let the hot water run out through the tap for about 5 to 10 seconds. Then remove the main cap and let the rest of the purified water run out. You are now ready to brew. Set the carbonation dial by rotating it clockwise to setting 5. Then fill the pinter with cold water to the internal black line. Now, I've said this previously in some of my other videos, I live in Yorkshire where we have excellent drinking water, but if you live somewhere in the country that is a hard water area, then you might want to consider using bottled or purified water for your brew. Open up the pouch containing the fresh press and pour the contents of this carefully into the pinter. Make sure you give it a good squeeze to make sure that you get all of it in there. Again, do this over the sink or over the bath, otherwise this might become a messy job. From there, open up and pour in the contents of the brewing yeast into the pinter. Then screw the main cap back on. From there, give the pinter a good shake using both handles for again a minimum of 30 to 60 seconds, like you did before during the purifying process. From there, attach the brewing dock, again in the same way as before, and turn this over so that everything is sitting on the dock. Again, you'll hear the liquid inside flowing down like before. Dry this off and leave it in a safe space at room temperature for the recommended time, somewhere not too hot or too cold and where it won't be moved or disturbed. Some hissing is normal during this process, so don't be worried if your pinter starts making this noise. Now, whilst we're waiting for the brewing process to be complete, I must point out how good Pinter's customer care is. I had unfortunately mislaid a couple of the purifiers after unboxing them, and funnily enough unboxed them for these videos, and I asked Pinter on their official Twitter page if they sold them separately. They didn't, but I was put in touch with their customer support team, who very kindly sent me some spare ones in the post free of charge. So, thank you Pinter, thank you very much. Anyway, on to the conditioning now. 8 days of brewing have now passed, and it's now time to begin the conditioning process. In the sink, hold the brewing dock and rotate anti-clockwise to release. You might see a release of liquid and pressure, but this is normal. Empty all of the liquid from the dock and wash it thoroughly. Give the main cap a wipe down to remove any remaining liquid, then attach the front plate and the tap. It's now ready to go into the fridge for conditioning for the recommended time, 3 days in this case. Three days later, the moment of truth had arrived. Upon pouring my first glass of my homemade dark fruit cider, I was pleasantly surprised by its professional appearance. I had my eldest son, Elias, visiting us for a few days, so I made sure that I had the Waltham Forest cider ready for when he arrived. He's a big cider drinker, so I wanted him to try out what I'd made and see how it compared to what he normally has. It was clear from that first pour that this was no amateur backyard brew. The rich deep hue resembled the alluring colours of a premium commercial cider like a Strongbow. However, the aroma immediately set it apart from its store-bought counterparts. Straight away I was getting an enticing aroma of raspberry and blackcurrant notes, a very inviting fruity fragrance. On the taste, it is bursting with natural sweetness and vibrant dark fruit colours. There's rich blackcurrants and tart raspberries mingled together. This is worlds apart from the likes of Strongbow and its other shop-bought ilk with their artificial sweetness. In fact, Strongbow can get in the bin now that we've got this. Each cool quaff of this dark fruit cider brought with it a refreshing fizziness that left behind a pleasant mouthfeel that had you eagerly reaching for another pour. Remarkably clean, amazingly drinkable, and exceeding all expectations. This homemade dark fruit cider is an unqualified success. Who needs mass production when you can craft something like this, something this delightfully quaffable, right in your own home? I feel that I need to raise my glass to Pinter and to amateur brewers everywhere. This cider is the real deal. This was my very first time brewing a cider in the Pinter, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. Next time, we'll be brewing a couple of collaborations that Pinter had made with well-established breweries. They will be Pinter's collaboration with the Yeastie Boys, a brewery that we featured on this channel before. This will be a remixed version of their Big Mouth Session IPA, and this will be the first time that I'll be doing a brew with additional hop oil. And my mate Dave will be popping over to try it out. He'll be coming over to the Mabbers Tavern for a few pints, so let's hope it turns out okay. I'll also be reviewing Pinter's collaboration with Brewgooder. Again, this is going to be a remixed version of their Hazy IPA, and I'll be reviewing that with my mate Kyle over at his house. Now, I haven't decided yet if these are going to be two separate reviews, two separate videos, or if I'll just do it in one single video. I haven't decided yet. But either way, be sure to come back for those reviews here on the channel very, very soon. After 2 years of planning, it has finally come to fruition. Pinter have partnered with Brewdog, allowing you to brew two of their most popular beers right at home. I've received a pack of Punk IPA from Pinter for review purposes, and I plan to share my candid opinions in the next couple of videos that I do on the channel. So without further delay, let's open the box and let's start brewing. Hello there and welcome to another episode of Beer Club. Now, for the last year or so, I've become a bit of an unofficial spokesperson for Pinter. Ever since a gentleman from Pinter, a chap called Riaz, got in touch with me, and because they'd seen some of my perfect draft keg reviews, they wondered if they could send me one of their Pinter machines and a couple of beers to try out and review. Now, as if I'm going to say no to an offer like that, I'm not one to turn down the offer of free beer, and I've brewed a couple of beers now on the Pinter free. I've been very pleased with how it's worked out. I've done Weiss beers, IPAs, I've done a cider sort of most recently. Pinter have done a number of collaborations with different breweries, such as like Yeastie Boys, for example, and Brewgooder. Pinter got in touch with me, or rather Riaz from Pinter got in touch with me to say that they've got another collaboration coming up, which is going to be a big one, and whether or not I'd like to be involved in talking about it and promoting it. It's like, yeah, absolutely sure. I even had to sign an NDA before we could sort of talk any further. We've got to the point now where I can actually talk about it, and this is going to be massive for Pinter. Really, really big. I mean, of all the collaborations you could have with like UK-based brewers, this is probably one of the biggest ones. They're doing a collaboration with Brewdog, and they're doing a remixed version of their Punk IPA, the signature beer for Brewdog, where it all started. So for this video, I'm going to be brewing Punk IPA remixed on the Pinter 3. This is actually the third time now I'm actually reviewing Punk IPA, because I reviewed it in cans when I was doing a compare and contrast to the knockoff versions that Aldi was selling, and then Punk IPA became a keg on Perfect Draft, so I reviewed it then. I actually got that for free as well, because they were doing a promotion where if you took a photo with a Perfect Draft keg down the front of your trousers, they'd send you some free Punk IPA because they had plenty left. All to do with a fella shoplifting a keg of Tennant's Lager on Perfect Draft down front of his trousers. I mean, if all the things you're going to nick, why would you nick Tennant's? Not that I would condone nicking alcohol in the slightest anyway, but you know, I got a free keg of Punk IPA out of it, and now I've got myself some more free Punk IPA. So we're going to get this opened up and we're going to brew it, and we're going to see just how it compares to the versions that we've had on can and keg in the past. So let's begin. Right, so here we go. So there's my pinter there, just in the background. Let's get this opened up. Brewdog Punk IPA Remixed. 5.8% ABV, approx once brewed, with hoppy and tropical aromas. Very nice. Right, let's see what emerges inside. Oh, look at that, they've even got the pouch with the logo on. Normally it's a black pouch with a sticker on. But no, they're really pushing out the boat there by putting the logo on the patch. I like that. I'd like to see them do that more often. So that's the main thing itself that we'll be using. Of course, there is the purifier, very important, we can't forget about that. And we have the fresh brewing yeast, which is called Spark. Don't think we've ever had that before. What else? Oh, and there's also the hop oil as well. Basically, you decide how hoppy you want the beer. And then there's the inside of the box, freshly tapped beer with your name on it. I do like all the packaging that they do. It's all recyclable, which is handy. I don't know if these pouches are recyclable. I think they're actually working on that to sort of try and make these. Well, they're more recyclable than what they had before. I think they had like plastic bottles with the squidgy syrup inside. So these are more recyclable than the plastic bottles, but I think they're currently working on packaging that will be 100% recyclable, which is always good. And I keep knocking this over. Well, let's make a start with the brew and see how we get on. So first of all, we need to follow the proper protocol and make sure that our pinter system has been thoroughly sanitized and cleaned. A critical step in any brewing endeavor. And to make sure that it's all ready for the beer making process to begin. Now, my previous pinter video where I reviewed the Waltham Forest dark fruit cider actually shows the full end-to-end process of what you need to do when making a brew with the pinter free. So do be sure to check that out if you are interested. Although rest assured, there's full instructions for every single beer on the Pinter app. As always on my videos, I'm filling up my Pinter free with some lovely Yorkshire water as the base before pouring in the lovely thick syrupy stuff from the package. Oof, look at that. It looks like caramel and treacle. Make sure you give it a good squeeze in order to get every single last drop from it. We want to make sure that this is a perfect brew. From there, we add the yeast, and after a good vigorous shaking, we attach it to the brewing dock for the prescribed 9-day primary fermentation, after which we continue the process with the addition of the hopper oil. Now, this is the first brew that we've made on the channel that involves the addition of a hopper, and this is easily added to the beer after the sort of brewing process, after the 9-day brewing process, by simply screwing it into the top of the pinter. Now, there's a foil lid on the bottle, but you don't need to worry about taking this off yourself. This is actually pierced upon it being screwed into the pinter. Give it a few seconds to allow enough time for it all to pour into the brew, and then simply unscrew it and replace the cap. Straight away, there's a lovely citrusy aroma coming from the hopper oil, as you would expect from a pint of Punk IPA. So you know that it's definitely going to have the same distinct smell when it comes to pouring out a pint of this. From there, the process concludes with another 5 days where the pinter goes into the fridge, which is the cold conditioning period. If it all goes correctly, then the finished beer should be as fresh and as refreshing as a recently poured punk from one of Brewdog's own pubs. And hopefully, it will still carry that respectable level of 5.8% ABV. How will it turn out? Well, you'll have to come back next week to find out, as I'm going to be making a separate video for tasting and reviewing. So thank you again to Riaz at Pinter for reaching out to me. It's a bit of a channel exclusive is this. I wanted to get this video up on the channel because I actually had to sign an NDA form so that I won't sort of say anything about it until the 31st of October. So I thought I'd get one video up on the channel where I'm doing the unboxing and the brewing side of things and the conditioning and what have you, and then I'll follow this up with a second video where I'll be doing the actual tasting and reviewing. So look out for that video coming up on the channel very, very soon. I have to say though, they are really going all in with this collaboration. That Brewdog branded pinter does look very nice indeed. I wonder if I could just buy the tap handle. It would be good if they did something like this with other breweries that they've done collaborative efforts with, like Yeastie Boys, for example. Maybe we could get a tap with the Yeastie Boys logo on. Speaking of which, my reviews of the other collaborations that Pinter have done with other breweries, that's going to be coming up soon. I mentioned at the back end of the Waltham Forest video that I was going to do a review of the Yeastie Boys Big Mouth Session IPA Remix and the Brewgooder Hazy IPA Remixed as well, but I've had to put those to one side while I've been working on this Brewdog video, but rest assured those videos are going to be coming soon. Anyway, stay tuned for the full review of the Punk IPA on the Pinter coming up soon on the channel. In the meantime, if you have enjoyed this particular video, then please leave a like and a comment, and do be sure to check out some of my other videos. I have an entire playlist of Pinter related videos on my channel, and I also have playlists for my reviews of beers on the Perfect Draft Machine, the Blade Machine, and just lots of other sort of beer related goodness in general, including brewery tours and beer subscription unboxing videos, all kinds of boozy related goodness here on the Big Daddy D Reviews channel. Please also consider sharing this video across your social media, especially with those who are interested in craft beer and home brewing in general. Whilst you're doing that, you may as well follow me on my social media pages as well, across the old Facebook, Instagram and Twitter boxes. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and do be sure to ring that notification bell in order to see future videos just like this one. And finally, thank you very much for stopping by the Big Daddy D Reviews channel and my pub shed, the Mabbers Tavern. And we'll catch you again next time. Last time on Beer Club, we were introduced to the exciting collaboration between Pinter and Brewdog, allowing home brewers to create the popular Punk IPA right in the comfort of their own home. We started out the episode with the unboxing of the Punk IPA brewing kit, followed by a brief walkthrough of the brewing process, including a 9-day primary fermentation, followed by the addition of hopper oil, which added a lovely citrusy aroma to the brew. The episode concluded with the beer being placed in the fridge for a 5-day cold conditioning period in preparation for the tasting and review of the freshly brewed Punk IPA. So how did it turn out? Well, without further ado, let's take a look. Now, of course, we do need to serve this in the appropriate Brewdog glassware. It would be sacrilege to do otherwise. So in the glass, this remixed version of Punk IPA has a pleasing looking hue of golden and amber, with a characteristic slight haziness. Normally the first pour from a pinter tends to be a bit lively, but this was a great pour from the very first pint, and it's resulted in a decent, dense white head, single fingertip of foam with a decent amount of retention, and as you can see there's a good amount of carbonation going on inside the glass as well. So on the nose, you immediately get that signature Punk IPA aroma. Fresh tropic notes, dominated by grapefruit and orange zest, complemented brilliantly by fresh pine and citrus undertones, creating an inviting yet well-balanced bouquet that doesn't overwhelm the senses. It certainly smells just like a fresh pint of Punk, but how does it taste? Well, there's no mistaking that nice level of sweetness at the beginning, quite lively and fruity on the tongue, which creates a base for the layered hop flavours. It features floral hints mixed with tropical fruits like grapefruit and passion fruit, with a subtle hint of pineapple. A light malty backbone gives structure, ending in a bold, typical bitter finish, but not quite as bitter as Punk IPA used to be, so I guess they're not going to be bringing back the old recipe anytime soon. But never mind, it really depends on how you feel on how bitter an IPA should be. The overall impression is refreshing, fruity, and remarkably faithful to what you would expect from a freshly pulled pint at any Brewdog bar. It's an excellent collaborative effort between Pinter and Brewdog that successfully captures the essence of the original Punk IPA whilst adapting it for the home brewing environment. It stands as a testament to both brands' commitment to quality and innovation in the craft beer space, and I can certainly see Pinter getting a lot more attention now that they've put this collaboration together. In addition to the Punk IPA, the Hazy Jane is also available on Pinter as well, so maybe I'll try that one out as well in the future and see how that compares. I mean, Pinter's certainly not short of IPAs to choose from, and I'll be planning on reviewing a few more soon. I was actually in the process of putting together a review video on 2 additional collaborative brews, mainly the Yeastie Boys Big Mouth Session IPA Remixed, which I reviewed with my mate Dave, and Brewgooder's Hazy IPA Remixed, which I reviewed with my mate Kyle. I was in the middle of putting those together when I received the email from Pinter that compelled me to momentarily set those reviews aside, once I'd signed the NDA agreement, of course. But rest assured, those two separate beer reviews will be coming soon. I haven't decided yet if they're going to be in a separate video or if they'll be in the same video together, but they're on the way, work in progress. Well, there we go. That's the concluding part of my look at the Pinter and Brewdog team up there. If you have enjoyed this video, then please do leave a like and a comment and check out some of my other videos. Consider sharing this particular video on your social media, especially with those interested in home brewing and the craft beer communities. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and do ring that notification bell in order to see future videos just like this one. Once again, thank you for visiting the Big Daddy D Reviews channel and my pub shed, the Mabbers Tavern, and we'll catch you again next time. Cheers! Hello there to you all. It's Friday, it's beer o'clock, and that can only mean one thing. It's time for another episode of Beer Club. For this video, I have the Yeastie Boys Big Mouth Session IPA Remix and Brewgooder's Hazy IPA Remix, all revved up and ready for review. It'll be interesting to see how they turn out, especially when shared with friends. So grab your favourite pint glass, sit back, relax, and let's get into it. So first up, Yeastie Boys Big Mouth Session IPA Remixed. I have previously reviewed a number of Yeastie Boys beers on this channel. In fact, I have an entire Yeastie Boys Beer Club compilation, which I'll put the link to at the end of this video and in the video description. They are a New Zealand based brewery that have gained a significant amount of popularity over here in the UK, and I have found all their beers to be highly enjoyable, including the Big Mouth Session IPA, which I have previously reviewed in can form. Therefore, I am interested in evaluating how this beer compares when brewed at home using the Pinter. So upon unboxing, it became clear that this collaboration with Pinter was designed to deliver a refined brewing experience. Inside we have a pouch of the fresh press, we have the purifier, and we have the brewing yeast, Loyalty, along with the additional hop oil. Once brewed, this should have an ABV of 4.5%, delivering on that sessionable promise. The brewing process took 7 days, followed by an additional 5 days for the hopping and the conditioning. Adding the hop oil before the conditioning phase ensured that the final product would have that desired hoppy character. The hop oil is simply screwed into the Pinter and given a few seconds to mix in with the rest of the ingredients. Once brewing and conditioning was complete, it was time for that very first pour in my pub shed, the Mabbers Tavern. In the glass, the beer is a golden yellow colour, quite hazy in appearance. Although it does not have a significant amount of head, it is still visually appealing with a steady amount of carbonation rolling up the glass. This might not be visible on camera due to the haziness, but it is there. We're also getting some great lacing on the glass as well, and it does look absolutely fantastic in appearance. The aroma was very inviting, with prominent and punchy notes of juicy stone fruits, tangerine, grapefruit, pineapple, and a hint of grassiness and white grape, thanks to those excellent New Zealand hops. Onto the taste itself, and like a typical session style IPA, this is very refreshing and highly drinkable. The flavour profile delivers a delightfully punchy, fruity flavour with the tropical stone fruit and pineapple coming through wonderfully. There's notes of grapefruit, orange peel and citrus, complemented by a pleasing bitterness that lingers pleasantly on the palate. The hop oil has added a crisp hoppiness, enhancing the overall drinking experience, culminating in an excellent mouthfeel and a pleasantly sweet finish. The flavours are actually layered quite intricately, presenting themselves one after the other rather than overwhelming the taste buds all at once. The drinkability of this IPA is exceptional, making it another outstanding creation from the Yeastie boys. And additionally, the fact that this was brewed at home just adds a unique personal satisfaction. In summary, the Yeastie boys Big Mouth Session IPA remixed on the Pinter masterfully combined convenience and quality, resulting in a beer that was both enjoyable and satisfying, and one that tasted just as good and as fresh as one poured from the pub. What I like is that you get 10 pints in a Pinter, which is always a nice amount, I reckon. You're not committing yourself to drinking 40 pints of something that you brewed under the sink. 10 pints is a nice amount, it's a nice little treat, and it's great for sharing as well. Have 10 pints either by yourself or share it with friends, and then you can move on to something else to make. That's the fantastic thing about the Pinter. Myself and my buddy Dave, we really enjoyed it. We managed to polish off an entire pinter's worth in the space of a single afternoon, which says it all, really. So I'm joined here with my good mate Dave, who is trying out a beer from the Pinter in the first time. What do you think of that, Dave?
It was really good. It's got a lovely flavour to it. It's got a nice sharp citrus hoppy taste to it, and I've obviously had a couple of these now.
Yes.
Really, really good. I could keep drinking this all night.
It's definitely a sessionable ale. You could quite happily drink this all night. I don't seem to have much of a head on this, but this is the 4th pint that I've had in the same glass, so that'll have something to do with it. Quite hazy, but you can see there's a decent amount of carbonation there. There's lots of bubbles rolling up the glass. But yeah, it's a good smelling beer. Lovely sort of citrusy and fruity. Very hoppy, which has come from the hop oil that I've put in before the conditioning process. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Pinter, for, again, sending me a Pinter for free. So, brilliant. That was fantastic. That was definitely deemed a success. But now we have another beer to brew on today's episode. This time being Brewgooder. I've heard a lot of good things about this particular brew and this particular brewery. And from the moment I unboxed the kit containing the fresh press, the purifier, and more of the loyalty fresh brewing yeast, I had a feeling that this was going to be another enjoyable home brew. No hop oil this time, but the brewing process still remains the same. Pour the fresh press into the Pinter, add the yeast, give it all a good shake, and then leave it in a safe space for the recommended brewing time of 7 days. This is then followed by an additional 5 days for conditioning in the fridge, ensuring that every flavour has had the time to develop fully. I've had to put my beer in the fridge in my pub shed this time, as there was no room for it in the kitchen fridge. That's what happens when you're having a Sunday roast. Once it's been successfully brewed, this should have an ABV of 5%. Now, I'm obviously taking you on a very quick whistle-stop tour of the brewing process, so if you want to see me going through the full end-to-end journey of this, including cleaning, the purifying, etc., then do watch my video on the Waltham Forest Dark Fruit Cider. Anyway, we come on to the pour, and to say that I was impressed would be an understatement. Oh, how good is that? How good a pour is that? That looks fantastic. Wow. In the glass, the beer has a light golden hue with a hazy, almost opaque quality that is visually delightful, and that superb foamy head only adds to the presentation. As for the aroma, the Brewgooder Hazy IPA Remixed does not disappoint. It exudes vibrant notes of tropical fruits, predominantly pineapple and peach, complemented by a subtle hint of spicy resin from the Centennial hops and fresh grapefruit from the Cascade hops. The scent alone promises a refreshing and enjoyable drinking experience. And as good as it looks and as great as it smells, it is the taste where this IPA truly excels. It delivers a fruity, juicy profile with the pineapple and peach flavours taking centre stage. The hint of spicy resin and fresh grapefruit adds complexity and depth, making each sip an absolute delight. At 5% ABV, it strikes an ideal balance between strength and drinkability, ideal for any occasion, including a barbecue around at your mate's house. Cheers, Kyle. In summary, the Brewgooder Hazy IPA Remixed on the Pinter is another testament to the potential of home brewing with the Pinter. From that first unboxing to that final sip, it provides a satisfying experience, making it a must-try for any beer enthusiast. highest possible recommendation on both of these beers for the Pinter. There's certainly an abundance of IPAs that are available for the Pinter, so if that is your choice of tipple, then you are going to be spot for choice, but do make sure that you put either one of these two in your basket for next time. In the meantime, if you have enjoyed this video, then please consider leaving a like and a comment. Additionally, feel free to explore some of my other videos. If you are interested in the Pinter, I have put together an entire playlist dedicated to brews and reviews of this remarkable device. Please share this video across your social media platforms, in particular with any communities that also have an interest in craft beer and home brewing. You are also welcome to follow me on my own social media pages and to subscribe to the channel. And do ensure that you click on the notification bell in order to receive updates on any new videos that appear. Thank you very much for visiting my channel, and indeed for once again stopping by the Mabbers Tavern. And we'll catch you again next time. Cheers! Hello there and welcome to another episode of Beer Club. This is actually our 70th episode of Beer Club, if you can believe that. And it also marks the 1 year anniversary of me being a Pinter owner and enthusiast and unofficial spokesperson, if you like. So with that in mind, we had to do something a little bit special. We're going to mark the occasion with something that's got a bit of a punch to it. An interplanetary punch, you might say. It's the Big DIPA on the Pinter, a double IPA that I've heard a lot of good things about. So I invite you to grab your favourite glass, sit back and come and explore the Pinter galaxy with me. Without further ado, let's take a look. So first, let's do the unboxing. Everything is included here for a successful brew. There's the fresh press, there's the purifier, there's the fresh brewing yeast, and of course this is another brew that comes with the additional hop oil. So this is a DDHD IPA. Well, what does that stand for, you might be asking? Well, this is a double dry hopped double IPA, which means that it's going to be stronger and hoppier than some of the other IPAs that we've previously brewed. This isn't your daddy's brew. The previous generation were brought up on pints of mild or pints of bitter. I'd probably end up blowing my dad's socks off if I gave him a pint of this. So according to the packaging, this is the big sister of one of Pinter's other signature brews, the Space Hopper, and this promises to be bold, punchy and hoppy, a galactic tropical hit of peach, mango and pineapple. Excellent, that does sound good. I can't comment on Space Hopper myself, I haven't had that one yet, but maybe that's something I'll take a look at in a future video. Once brewed, the Big DIPA will be 7% ABV, so this will be one of the strongest in volume that we've reviewed on the Pinter. It's certainly the strongest IPA that we've done so far. So let's get on with the brewing. Don't just pour it in, get it rolled up and squeezed out in order to get it all in there. Then add the yeast, but keep hold of the hop oil for now because you're going to need that later. Complete the brew and leave it in a safe place to complete the brewing process, which in this beer's case is 8 days. After that, it's time to add the hop oil. This addition provides an extra layer of complexity and flavour to the beer. It was during this process that I began to suspect that this might be quite a lively beer. When I added the hopper, which is done by screwing it into the back of the Pinter, upon removing it afterwards, the beer actually spat at me. It's like it can't wait to get into a glass and get drunk. It does smell absolutely fantastic though. After adding the hopper and screwing the cap back on, remove the Pinter from the brewing dock and wash this out thoroughly. Again, as you can see, it is quite lively. Clean and dry off the Pinter, put on the cover and the tap, and then pop it into the fridge for the conditioning process, which is another 7 days. I think this might be the longest time that we've had to make a brew on the Pinter, so here's hoping that the wait was worth it. So upon the first pour in my pub shed, the Mabbers Tavern, it was clear that the Big DIPA was, just as expected, quite a lively beer. The initial pours were quite foamy, as if the beer itself couldn't wait to be enjoyed. Oof, shit. Yeah, that's
Should we do a take two?
The first 2 pints had a lot of foam to begin with. so I put them to one side to settle down. Yeah, the carbonation is definitely quite high on this brew. It was on my third pour that we got something more promising looking. In the glass, the beer has a beautiful, hazy, golden amber hue with plenty of carbonation rolling up the glass and a generous 2 fingers worth of compact foamy head, which is definitely better than getting a whole fistful worth of foam like we had in those first 2 pours. Let's go on to the aroma, which was an enticing bouquet of tropical fruits with dominant notes of mango and peach, complemented by a lovely hoppy presence, as you might have expected. The scent alone promised a delightful drinking experience. Tasting the Big DIPA was a revelation. I did have high hopes for this. I'd heard a lot of good things about it. I have to say those hopes have definitely been realised. The flavour profile was robust and juicy, adding bold tropical fruit notes with a hint of bitterness from the hops. It does have a kick to it, but it isn't overpowering at all. It's lovely and smooth and it leaves a great mouthfeel. Overall, this has a good body of beer that manages to strike a perfect balance between strength and drinkability, making it ideal for various occasions. Yes, despite its high ABV, this is actually quite a sessionable beer, which is quite dangerous when you think about it. So don't let the liveliness of those first couple of pours put you off. The Big DIPA is definitely a winner in my book. And if this is Space Hopper's big sister, well, I might have to try out Space Hopper at some point as well. There is an abundance of IPAs available for the Pinter, so you really are spot for choice if that is indeed your choice of tipple, but do give this double IPA a go at some point. In summary, the Big DIPA brewed on the Pinter system is a testament to the potential of home brewing. From the unboxing to the final sip, it offers an engaging and satisfying experience. And despite its lively nature at first, the Big DIPA delivers on all fronts: appearance, aroma, and taste. So I say cheers to another exceptional brew with the Pinter. And I can't wait to see what I end up brewing next. In the meantime, if you have enjoyed this particular video, then please consider leaving a like and a comment, and do feel free to check out some of my other videos. If you are interested in the Pinter, I have put together an entire playlist dedicated to brews and reviews on this remarkable device. Please could you also share this video across your social media platforms, especially with any communities that have an interest in craft beer and home brewing. Please help to spread the word of the channel. You are also welcome to follow me on my own social media pages and to subscribe to the channel itself, and do ensure that you click on that notification bell in order to receive updates on whenever I have new videos for you to watch. So thank you very much for visiting my channel and indeed visiting the Mabbers Tavern, and we'll catch you all again next time. Cheers!